Jennifer Taylor has joined.
Commissioner Taylor, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. We are ready to begin. This Planning Commission meeting is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV, Cable Channel 2. You can also watch this meeting live on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV on the Go Vegas app. The Planning Commission meeting, as well as all other KCLV programming, can be viewed on the internet at www.kclv.tv/live. The proceedings will be rebroadcast on KCLV and the web the Saturday after the meeting at 10 a.m., Monday at midnight, and the following Tuesday at 6 p.m. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? To our clerk, can we call the roll, please?
Chair Cherry,
Present.
Vice Chair Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Schlottman,
Present.
Commissioner Rogan,
Present.
Commissioner Walsh, Commissioner Kasama,
Present.
Commissioner Taylor.
Present.
Thank you, Chair. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I call your attention to the information printed on the agenda concerning our actions in the appeal and review process, if appropriate. Please read this carefully. If you have any questions, staff is available. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to these rules so we can have a smooth meeting. Moving on to item number 4. All comments made under this item for specific action will be cross-referenced to those items. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak under this portion of the agenda? Seeing no one, we'll move on to item number 5. Can we get a motion, Vice Chair, on the minutes?
Motion for approval of the October 8th, 2024 meetings. Motion for approval.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to our housekeeping items. Are there any items that the commissioner, staff, applicants, or member of the public would like to pull forward for action?
Mr. Chairman, Nicole Edos for the record. Staff is requesting to hold item number 18, project number 24-0454 to the December 10th Planning Commission meeting for re-notification. Staff is requesting to hold item number 22, project number 24-0459 to the December 10th Planning Commission meeting for re-notification. And staff is requesting to hold item number 25, project number 24-0468 to the December 10th Planning Commission meeting for re-notification. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair, can we get a motion on the housekeeping items?
Yes, motion on housekeeping items number 18, 24-045 for SUP1. Motion to obey till the December 10th meeting. Also, item 22, 24-0459 SUP1. Motion to obey to the 12/10 meeting. And number 25, 24-0468 SDR1. Again, motion to obey to the December 10th meeting. Motion for approval for all items.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
That motion carries. Moving on to the consent items. Consent items are considered routine by the Planning Commission and may be enacted by one motion. However, any item may be discussed if a commission member or a applicant so desires. Before I go to you, Vice Chair, on item number 11, I will be abstaining. I am within the notification area of that applicant's project and in the same business, so out of abundance of caution, I will be abstaining on 11.
Thank you very much. Motion on the floor to approve consent items 7 through 11. Motion for approval.
And I believe item 12 is part of the one motion, or the consent agenda as well.
And item 12,
Thank you.
12A and 12B.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, items 7 and 12 are final action tonight unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days, and items 8, 9, and 10 are final action unless appealed to the city clerk in 7 days.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the one motion, one vote portion of the agenda. The following are items that may be considered in one motion, one vote. They're considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items with staff recommendations of approval. All public hearings and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any person representing an application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. Item number 13, 240425 SUP1, applicant Day Spa, owner O'Bannon Development LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project for a proposed 1,248 square foot massage establishment use with a waiver to allow a 0-foot distance separation from a parcel zone for residential use where 400 feet is required at 2251 South Rainbow Boulevard, Ward 1. Staff recommends approval. Item number 14, 240430 VAC1, applicant Madison Capital Group Holdings LLC, owner Osa Blanco Place LLC, for possible action on land use entitlement project request for a petition to vacate a portion of right-of-way Doe Brook Trail, generally located on the west side of Osa Blanco Road, approximately 1,106 feet south of Elkhorn Road, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. Item number 15, 240436 VAC1, applicant DR Horton, owner Ambleside Properties LLP, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for petition to vacate a U.S. government patent easements generally located at the northwest corner of Alpine Place and Appian Way, Ward 1. Staff recommends approval. Item number 16, 240449 SUP1, applicant With Love Always LLC, owner Damani Centennial LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for proposed 1,090 square foot restaurant with alcohol use at 6441 North Durango Drive, Suite 140, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. Item number 17, 240451 VAC1, applicant Dapper Development, owner Chicks Dig Scars LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for a petition to vacate portions of right-of-way, alley, Artway, and Casino Center Boulevard, generally bounded by Casino Center Boulevard, Coolidge Avenue, First Street, Boulder Avenue, and Artway. Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item number 18, 240454 SUP1, applicant The Vig LV LLC, owner Nine Island LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for proposed 2,500 square foot alcohol on-premise full use at 150 North Las Vegas Boulevard, Suite 100, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item number 19, 240455, applicant Nevada Brew Works, owner Jan Summerlin LLC, for possible action on the following land use entitlement projects request at 6.03 acres at 820 South Rampart Boulevard, Suite number 110. Staff recommends approval. Related item 19A, 240455 SUP1 for proposed 3,281 square foot alcohol production craft use with a 1,289 square foot outdoor patio area. Related item 19B, 240455 SUP2 for proposed gaming establishment, restricted use, 1 to 5 machines. Item number 20, 240457 VAC1, applicant owner, The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, for possible action on the land use entitlement project request for a petition to vacate U.S. government patent easements generally located at Hickam Avenue, east of Grand Canyon Drive, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. Item number 21, 240458 SUP1, applicant AJ Street Food LLC, owner Saw LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for a proposed 1,938 square foot alcohol on-premise full use with a waiver to allow a 340-foot distance separation from an existing church house of worship where 400 feet is required at 328 West Sahara Avenue, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item number, I read 18 in, 22's passed. Item number 23, 240460 SDR1, applicant owner Panda Inn, Inc., for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for proposed 3,300 square foot restaurant with drive-through development with a waiver of building orientation standards on a portion of 2.08 acres on property located on the west side of Nellis Boulevard, approximately 620 square feet of Bonanza Road, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item number 24, 240465, applicant WMAYB LLC. Vice Chair, I think I need you to take over for a second, if you don't mind. Thank you.
All right, picking up related items 24A through B, 24-0465, applicant VMAYB LLC, owner Sticky VI LLC, for possible action on the following land use entitlement project requests at 1500 South Main Street, Ward 3 Diaz. Staff recommends approval. Item 25, which is actually continued in abeyance to December 10th. So item 26, 24-0470 SUP1, applicant BYC Summerlin LLC, owner Wunderlust LLC et al. For possible action on a land use entitlement project request for a proposed 4,494 square foot alcohol on premises full use with a 0-foot distance separation from a church house of worship and an individual care center license for more than 12 children where 400 feet is required. 9480 West Sahara Avenue, Ward 2. Staff recommends approval. Item 27, 24-0473 SUP1, applicant Golden Bar and Restaurant Equipment LLC, owner Harsh Investment Properties, Nevada LLC, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for a proposed motor vehicle rental use at 20 Research Lane, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item 28, 24-0491 SUP1, applicant Dish Wireless, owner Storage Equities, Inc., for possible action on land use entitlement project request to increase the height of an existing wireless communication facility, non-stealth design, from 43 feet to 56 feet and relocate existing antennas at 1202 South Valley View Boulevard, Ward 1. Staff recommends approval. Item 29, 24-0494 SNC1, applicant owner Howard Hughes Company LLC for possible action on a land use entitlement project request from Amaya Canyon Drive to Ostra Canyon Drive on the Amaya Canyon Drive alignment north of Twilight Run Drive, Ward 2. Staff recommends approval. And item 30, 24-0524 SUP1 applicant, the Doberman LLC owner, Las Vegas Arts District Development LLC, for possible action on a land request for a land use entitlement project request for a proposed 4,000 square foot alcohol on-premise full use at 1025 South 1st Street, Suite 100, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval.
And Mr. Chairman, or Vice Chair, just for clarifications, items number 18, 22, and 25 are being held in abeyance until December 10th. Thank you.
Motion. So we'll go ahead and make a motion. Yeah, so all items listed under one motion, one vote are eligible for public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. And we got microphones, three microphones. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Carol Cheney. I live at 4093 Peaceful Dune Street, Las Vegas, Nevada 89129. I'm here to oppose item 20. I am one of the board members of Nevada Rural Preservation Alliance and an HOA board member of the Summit. And I also am here to represent the neighboring HOA, which is Eagle Rock Estates, all less than 1,000 square feet from the proposed easement that you're wanting to vacate. And I'm here to specifically state that not only am I in opposition, is that you stated that you notified 16 neighborhood associations. I'd like to have a record of what those neighborhood associations were, because we are the closest neighborhoods and we were not notified. And most importantly, we are in the middle of a legal proceeding with a petition for judicial review regarding this property. So many of us from the neighborhood are here asking why we were not notified and why this is even on a one motion, one vote, as this is a public issue. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Please step forward. There's three mics here if you'd like to step forward.
Sue Christensen, 9685 West Tropical Parkway. I'm here on item number 20. I am also a board member of the Nevada Rural Preservation Alliance. Carol pretty much stated it, but on all other notices for this parcel, there's been 250 notifications, 288 notifications, and on this notification, there was only 15. I'm sure no one's been less property out there. We are in the middle of a legal dispute at this point, and it would definitely not be something that we should rule on until other legal proceedings get resolved. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Summer Golia Pritchett, 9115 West Hammer Lane. And I just wanted to second what the previous two speakers said.
Brenton Marsden, 4270 North TP Lane. I'm opposed to the vote tonight on item 20. I would suggest that you hold it in abeyance and have a full hearing and a full public hearing on it. And I agree with statements that Carol Cheney made. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Dahlgren, 4037 Peaceful Dune Street, and I am against item number 20. I did not receive notice, and I do live in the same community that Carol lives in, the Summit, and I feel that this needs to be reviewed in a manner that everybody has input, because what they're asking to eliminate is regarding water and watershed, and I am greatly affected by that where I live.
Thank you.
Rick Pinchart, 4215 North TP Lane at the corner of TP and Hickam. This property is in my backyard. I wish someone could elaborate exactly what this is all entails. Is it a watershed issue? Or exactly what is it? If it's a watershed issue, I think more people need to be present or be notified as to of this meeting. Very few were notified. Some of my neighbors were not notified of this meeting. I think, as you heard, there's other proceedings going on right now, legal proceedings. I think this needs to be curtailed for the time being till those are resolved. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ingrid Marsden. I live at 4270 North TP Lane. I am also against the motion tonight, and I also want to let you know that we are within 1,000 feet and we were not notified. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening. My name is Bud Stoddard, 9112 Frosty Morning Avenue, Ward 4, Las Vegas. With respect to this item that's being discussed, there's a group of us that's strongly in favor of the vacation of this patent easement. I don't know if there's going to be a, well, let me just set forth my position on it. I've been a practicing attorney in Las Vegas for 2 decades. I'm extremely familiar with patent easements. They're extremely ubiquitous. Every time the federal government transfers land into private ownership, there are patent easements. They are vacated all the time as a matter of administrative course, and therefore we strongly support the vacation of this easement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg Hunter. Greg Hunter, I live at 4386 Micah's Canyon Court on the corner of Craig and Grand Canyon, very close to the proposed property. I'd also like to point out, first of all, I am in favor of the vacation of the easement. I would point out that the property to the north and the property to the south has the same easement running through it, and both of those are CCSD properties. So unless we're running a street through the middle of an elementary school on each side of the proposed property, it makes sense to vacate that easement through the proposed property.
Thank you.
I'm Nate Boyack. I live at 4325 Jaredon Court. My family is within 1,000 feet of the discussed property, item 20, and we are in favor of vacating the easement. We appreciate your consideration on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Seeing no further comment, I will close public comment for one motion, one vote. And moving through the agenda, we'll go ahead and make a motion for...
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes, sir.
Before you make a motion.
Yes, sir.
Just on item number 19, Nevada Brew Works, I am under contract on that, so I'll be abstaining on that item. On item number 24, I have a contract with the applicant on that particular project. And on item number 30, a landlord that we do quite a bit of work for is the owner of that particular building, so I'll be abstaining on that matter as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion on the floor for approval for one motion, one vote, items 13 through 30, excluding items 18, 22, and 25. Motion on the floor for approval.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
And that motion carries. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, items 13, 14, 15, 17, 28, and 29 will move on to City Council on December 18th, and items 16, 19 through 21, 23, 24, 26, and 27 are final action tonight unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you very much. Moving to the public hearing items, let's see, we're pulling forward. So going to item 34, abeyance 24-0395 VAC1, applicant owner TGP Desert Manor LP, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for a petition to vacate a portion of right-of-way alley generally located on the south side of Bonneville Avenue between Main Street and First Street, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, on March 8th, 2007, the Planning Commission approved a petition of vacation VAC 19234 for a 20-foot wide section of public right-of-way generally located south of Bonneville, north of Garces Avenue, between Main Street and First Street. An extension of time, EOT 43609, was subsequently administratively approved on November 2nd, 2011, and expired on October 20th of 2012, since the order of vacation was never recorded. The applicant has indicated that this vacation of this right-of-way is necessary to fully develop the subject site in the future. The Department of Public Works has no objection to the petition to vacate this portion of right-of-way. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the requested vacation. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Kristen Esposito, 1555 South Rainbow, 89146.
Thank you.
That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Ms. Esposito, do you have any comments, and you want to tell us about the project?
No, I'm here on behalf of the owner, TGP Desert Manor. And we agree to the staff conditions.
All right, thank you very much. This meeting is noticed as this item is noticed as a public hearing meeting item. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I will close this item and turn this over to the Ward 3 Commissioner Diaz.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I've reviewed this item. I don't have any questions, and the applicant agrees to all the, if approved, conditions. So I'm ready to make a motion, Vice Chair.
Please do.
On item 34, abeyance 24-0395 VAC1, move to approve, subject to staff's conditions.
And you do agree to all the staff's conditions?
Yes, we do.
All right. Motion on the floor.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
This item carries.
And Mr. Chairman, that item moves on to City Council on December 18th, and I did miss one on the one motion, one vote. Item number 30, let me just look back at my notes here. Item number 30 is final action tonight and was appealed to the city clerk in 10 days. And item number 11 is also final action tonight and was appealed to the city clerk in 10 days. I missed both of those, and I apologize.
Thank you. Moving through the agenda, we're going to move to item number 40. It's listed under our director's business. So item number 40, 24-0482 DIR1, applicant City of Las Vegas, owner Wealthy Silva, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request to designate the property known as Huntridge Homes as a historic site. The City of Las Vegas Historic Property Register is approved by the Historic Preservation Commission, 24-0482-HPC1 at 1433 Cottonwood Place, Ward 3. Can I get the staff report, please?
So Diane Sebern, I'm the Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Las Vegas. I'm here on behalf of the owner who was not able to attend today's meeting. And as the Historic Preservation Officer for the city, one of our goals is to add properties to our Las Vegas Historic Property Register because it ensures their historical integrity, and these homes cannot be changed once they are on our historic register. This house is located within the Huntridge neighborhood. The Huntridge neighborhood was one of the earliest neighborhoods here in Las Vegas. It was built starting in 1941. It was part of creating housing for the war efforts. The staff that were based at the gunnery range, which is now Nellis Air Force Base, as well as Basic Magnesium. And the house that we're looking at today was built in 1944. We have done several architectural surveys of this neighborhood, and within this neighborhood, there are only 3 houses that retain their historical integrity, giving a sense of place and understanding of houses as they looked in the 1940s. This was one of the houses that was determined eligible because it has very minimal changes. It is a traditional ranch-style home, and the only changes to it was the addition of a screen on the east side of the property and enclosure of the garage. I'm sorry, I don't know if I have other pictures. This is a much better picture. So you can see here is the garage that was just enclosed with the lattice work. However, it is one of the few houses that still retains its open carport, and we are asking to put this property on our historic register. It has already gone through our Historic Preservation Commission, and they have approved it. We are seeking approval from the Planning Commission because this will add a zoning layer to it as a historic zoning layer, meaning, as I explained earlier, that nothing can be changed on the exterior of this property. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much. This meeting was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and turn this over to Commissioner Schotman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I've read this. I appreciate you coming out tonight and doing all the work that you always do. If there's no other questions, ready to make a motion, Vice Chair.
Please do.
On item 24-0482, DIR1, move to approve, subject to staff's conditions.
And you do agree with all the staff's conditions?
Thank you.
Yes. Motion on the floor for approval.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
This motion carries.
And that item will move on to City Council on December 18th.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 39, 24-0497 SDR1, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for possible action on a land use entitlement project request for a proposed 97-foot tall parking garage with 9,431 square feet of commercial space on 1.13 acres at the northeast corner of East Utah Avenue and Casino Center Boulevard, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. It's a director's item, so can we hear about it? About the
Good
project,
evening,
please?
Vice Chair and Commissioners. Rosa Cortez, City of Las Vegas, City Engineer, Deputy Director of Public Works.
Sean Miller, Architectural Project Manager, City of Las Vegas.
And Brian Henley, Partner Director of Design with KGA. We're the architects for the project, working for the city.
Thank you for having us present this item this evening. This project, the Arts District Parking Garage, is a much-needed garage in the Arts District. And before I turn it over to the architect of record to run through the site plan, I just want to give a quick project timeline of how we came to this moment. Can I?
Please do.
Thank you. So in June of 2023, the City Council approved the purchase and sale of the 1.13 acres of land. And then soon after that, we advertised the project for a design, build, delivery method. Earlier this year, we came in for the zoning. I think you all are familiar with that item. It was approved in January and then went to City Council in February. We since then finalized the RFP for the design build team, and we awarded the contract to Whiting Turner and KGA on September 18th. With this project moving forward, we anticipate the garage will start construction in the second quarter of 2025 with a 12-month construction schedule, and opening up the garage in summer of 2026. With that, I'll turn it over to Brian.
Thank you. So we'll just talk briefly through the project. This is the site. It is currently a surface parking lot where the parking garage is proposed to be constructed at the corner of Casino Center Boulevard to the west and Utah Avenue to the south. There's a residential property to the north and an alleyway to the east. It's the site plan for the proposed parking garage. So this parking garage includes 507 stalls on 5 levels, as well as a retail component at the corner of Casino Center in Utah of approximately 10,000 square feet. There is also some back of house and support spaces within the first level of the garage that are enclosed in service of the city's parking operations. The primary driveway to enter the garage is about halfway through the Casino Center frontage, so facing west onto Casino Center Boulevard. And there is a secondary driveway primarily for exit purposes into the alley. There's pedestrian ingress and egress with stair and elevator towers at the northwest corner and the southeast corner. And then the southwest corner facing Casino Center in Utah is primarily focused on retail facade. Here's a look at the elevations. These, and we'll show you a rendering in just a second that gives you a little better look at what is proposed here, but it is, the proposed design features decorative facade panels, similar to what you've seen on some other city parking garages to provide a good appearance forward to the community, not just a plain garage. So there are a combination of kinetic panels, which are metal panels with little flaps that move with the wind, and polycarbonate panels, which is a sort of a translucent material that'll let the light through. So you get a little bit of a different effect with different times of day, different times of year, things like that, to create a little bit of a unique ambiance in the garage and appearance to the community. We're currently at the 30% design stage, so some of the particulars of these panels we're still working on, but this gives you a general look at the intent of the appearance to the community and a vibrant addition to the Arts District. And with that, we thank staff for the recommendation for approval and welcome any questions.
Thank you very much. This item was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and turn this over to, I'll start with Commissioner Schatzman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Through you, a couple of questions for staff. I appreciate y'all bringing this forward. We are needing parking in the Arts District, and we're going to need more and more parking as time goes on. And I appreciate y'all bringing in architectural aspects to this parking garage, because seeing big parking garages with no architectural embellishments is probably the worst thing that we could do. So, you know, I think it's a good-looking parking garage. I think you'll put some time and effort into it. I heard that the images that we're seeing here could change a little bit, or is what I'm seeing is that the polycarbonate and the kinetic art that you're talking about?
Those are the polycarbonate and kinetic elements that you see. The particulars of how we execute that may change as we develop from this 30% stage of design, you know, going forward. But this does express the general intent of those panels.
And the backside faces, so the backside is going to face west, is that correct?
Backside will face east.
The backside faces east, okay.
Commissioner,
that's
this is the northeast corner.
Okay. And what about is there any way we can add any kind of embellishments on the backside, just so it's not so plain? I mean, y'all did such a great job with, you know, the other 3 sides, but the back, I know that we're going to have, I think we even have something on the agenda tonight, or we had something on the agenda tonight during consent, extension of time for the little parcel that's where 3rd and 4th Street come together, where, I don't know if it was Tommy Hilfiger or one of those guys were planning on building a high-rise over there. And there's been a couple of people looking at developing that, but I'm just thinking as more of the Arts District starts developing on the east side of here, it just, I think it would look nice if we could try doing something. I'm not going to say that we have to develop anything tonight, but if you could start looking at that between now and city council, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely, and that is a point of discussion that has come up recently. And what we've discussed is that we have, as we develop the exact details of these panels, these two kinds of decorative panels, we can redistribute them a little bit and put some more of them, particularly on the upper reaches of that east side that you'll see over the adjacent buildings.
Right, and
so
maybe
that
not as much
certainly-
needed on the first and second floor, put the money up where people will actually be seeing it, so.
Certainly, yeah, we can absolutely do that.
Okay, thank you. No other questions, Vice Chair? I'm ready to make a motion on item number 39, 24-0497 SDR1. Move to approve, subject to staff's conditions, and y'all agree to all staff's conditions?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Motion on the floor.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
And that motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, that item is final action tonight unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you very much. Moving on
Thank you.
to...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 43, 24-0516 TXT1, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for possible action on a request to amend LVMC 19.10.020 and LVMC 19.18.020 regarding development standards for lighting within the CLV Civic Zoning District. Staff recommends approval. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Chair. Marco Vallata, City of Las Vegas, Department of Community Development, for the record. I'm here today with Ian Reinex, who's a planner in the Comprehensive Planning Division in Community Development, to discuss this amendment to Title 19 and answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you.
Ian Reinex, Department of Community Development. So it will just give a little bit of background. This starts with the master plan, as a lot of our stuff does. The master plan established 16 areas of the city, and starting in June of last year, 2023, the city began undertaking special area plans for individual areas within the city. And we started on La Madre Foothills and Kyle Canyon specifically. Feedback during the course of that planning process, feedback in the form of meetings and surveys via the public outreach process, have informed staff about the importance of reducing light pollution. This amendment provides standards exclusively within these areas, as I just mentioned. La Madre Foothills and Lone Mountain to the south, as outlined in those red boxes. These two areas contain a larger share of traditional neighborhoods and rural place types where residents value darker skies, ranch-style development, reduced street lighting, and where lower density neighborhoods transition to the mountains. The proposed amendment provides standards solely for the CV Civic District within the Lone Mountain and La Madre Foothills areas of the city. Per Title 19, the CV District is intended to, and I quote, provide for the continuation of existing public and quasi-public uses and for the development of new schools, libraries, public parks, public flood control facilities, police and fire department facilities, electrical transmission facilities, facilities of the Las Vegas Valley Water District, and other public utility facilities. As you can see on the map here, this is an area that consists mainly of the Lone Mountain and La Madre Foothills areas. The largest contiguous areas of CV zoning are outlined in those red boxes. And these parcels outlined here currently consist of drainage retention areas, parks, a Clark County School District bus depot, a high school, a middle school, churches, and other institutional uses. All right, so there are three main components of this text amendment. One, lighting colors. The new amendment states that light temperature shall not exceed 4,000 Kelvin, so we try to keep it to warmer colors. Number two, height of lighting on buildings. Any light fixtures or light emitted on buildings extending above 35 feet shall be turned off between the hours 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. And then light shielding. So I have a couple diagrams of light shielding, what we mean by light shielding. We have basically a scale for light poles on the degree of shielding that's required. So for light poles lower than or equal to 10 feet, the minimum shielding angle shall be 15 degrees. And that angle, as we've created a definition for, is the angle formed by the horizontal plane of the lowest point of the light fixture and a straight line running from the lowest point of the edge of the interior of the light fixture to the lowest point of the light source. So that's the standard that we're using for light shielding. So for light poles lower than or equal to 10 feet, we're proposing a minimum shielding angle of 15 degrees. For light poles from 10 to 15 feet, 30 degrees. For light poles 15 to 20 feet, 45 degrees. And for light poles above 20 feet, an additional shielding of 1 degree per 1 additional foot in pole height. And then also for all accent and architectural lighting, we have that standard of 45 degrees. So in addition to those changes to 1910 020 Civic, the Civic overlay, we have two definitions, shielding angle, which I just read, and then light fixture, just to clarify exactly what we mean by a light fixture. And that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. This item was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. See. Thank you very much, sir. Again, can you please state your name and address for the record?
Okay, my name is Brenton Marsden. I live at 4270 North TP Lane. This project's going to be literally kitty corner to my home across the street. I thought we were trying to get dark skies in rural preservation areas, and this will definitely destroy the dark skies that we've enjoyed in our rural neighborhood for all these years. No amount of mitigation is going to change the lighting on that structure. It's still going to be sticking out like a sore thumb. It's going to be illuminating our neighborhood all night. And so therefore, I'm opposed to it, and I just wish that you would reconsider your approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Carol Cheney, 4093 Peaceful Dune Street. So when I came up earlier, my issue was lack of notification, not only to our HOA, but to us as individuals. I attended the light reduction meeting held by Francis Polensky. I had no idea that this was on the agenda, as again, lack of notification. I think the city, it's imperative that there's transparency with the city. We are in the middle of a legal issue. So being that we all walked out as a Nevada Rural Preservation, we just learned that this is on there. What happened with all of the individuals who came and voiced their concerns regarding lighting? Is this a meeting where now we're just talking about how the lighting will be?
Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Stephanie Dahlgren, 4037 Peaceful Dune Street. I did not know about this. I have a picture on my phone of exactly what this mitigated lighting looks like, because I was up in Utah recently and took pictures as I drove by. This is horrendous in front of the mountain. Absolutely horrendous for a dark skies area, regardless of when they turn the lights out.
Thank you. Seeing no further comment, I'll close public comment and turn it back over to the applicant to respond to the residents' concerns, please.
Yes, Marco Vallata, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, again for the record. So this amendment here is an attempt to at least address some of those concerns with respect to light pollution in general. We did have a town hall meeting with Councilwoman Ellen Polinsky, and we took some of the recommendations, and after a lot of research and study from other communities around the country, these were some of the ones that were ultimately selected as a first run for the civic zone districts. If there's any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. So I'll go ahead and open this up for discussion. Any comments from the commission on the item? Seeing none on the item, I'll go ahead and make a motion on item 24-0516 TXT1, motion for approval following staff's recommendation. Motion on the floor.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
And this item carries.
And Mr. Chairman, that item will move on to City Council in ordinance form.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 31, abeyance renotification 24-0190, applicant William Brown, owner H&H Investment Realty LLC, for possible action on the following land use entitlement project requests on 1.18 acres on the southwest corner of Owens Avenue and Gateway Road, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial.
Sorry, we were going to hear item 42. We have staff here for one more item. It's item 42. So I'll go there next. Yeah, because you want to do this one then. Okay.
Can I get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff finds the proposed project is not compatible or harmonious with the existing development in the surrounding area. This is evidenced by the associated waiver and variance requests, as the proposed multifamily residential development fails to meet Title 19 development standards concerning residential adjacency, parking, and landscape requirements. Furthermore, approval of the requested rezoning would lead to spot zoning. As such, staff recommends denial of all land use entitlement requests. Please note additional documentation of protest was received after publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Good evening, Vice Chair, Commissioners. Edgar Montalvo, 2209 Tosca Street, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89128, representing the client that is here present with me. We've been trying to do, we actually meet a couple of times with the neighbors and a few times with the staff, trying to redesign this project so we can actually develop it. Pretty much it's a straightforward fourplexes that we've been trying to accommodate in this piece of land. What we're doing is we're increasing our landscape. In this case, one of the concerns on the neighborhood had is that it was open on this side. So as per staff recommendation, after trying to make it better, we're gonna put a fence in here so we can have it open. It's not gonna be like a block wall, because if not, we're gonna create an alley. So as being empathetic with our neighbors, we're gonna have it open so they can see our landscape there, but they will not get into it. It's very important for us to let you know that this is not a low-income class type of fourplexes. If not, this is going to be something that they might be renting in approximate probably between $1,500 to $2,000 a month. So we're trying to have it open spaces, really nice. We're trying to attract young people, young couples, and the vibrant population that we have here on the valley on this side of town. So the investment that we're going to have is not a small investment. We're anticipating it's going to be about $2 million, $2,500,000, something like that, or more, if I'm not wrong.
Correct.
And that's what we're trying to do. We went with the staff, as I said, and we are fine with all the recommendations. We're actually trying to modify it for our next meeting, trying to bring it all, accommodate all the recommendations that they have, so we can show it to you how it is going to look. We're going to be here to answer all the questions that you have. As you see, it has really nice areas, the colors that we have, the mixtures, the spaces, they are open, so they can have a very comfortable for all of them. We were a little bit concerned about the security of the site, but I think it's going to be fine having it with the fence around it and all the landscape that we have. So we're here to answer any questions that you may have, and as I say, we agree with all the conditions and the staff recommended to get this project as become a reality.
Thank you very much. This item was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. If you gentlemen can allow them to step to the microphones. And we've got 3 microphones. Good evening. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name's Kimberly Marks. My address is 1301 North Gateway Road. I live down the street from this proposed project. I just have some written comments about how I feel about it. On the zoning variance that they are asking for, they are trying to skip and go even denser residential than what is allowed. I would refer you to staff recommendations, which stated, as you had said, it is not consistent with the surrounding area as existing zoning districts adjacent to the east, west, and south of the subject site are intended for rural density residential type and single-family units. The second thing is they want variances on all of the perimeters of the lot and their perimeter setbacks. So they, the purpose of having these setbacks in our ordinances is to protect existing neighbors that have already built and are established, and to not let somebody come in and affect their property values. The most egregious setback they want is because these are 2-story buildings there and the slope of site, they are asking for a variance from 69 feet down to 5 foot. And so they want 5 foot from the edge of the property to put their buildings. And another variance they're asking for is in the required landscaping, and your master plan states that you place priority on tree canopies for reducing the urban effect. So for shortening the distance of landscaping, it is affecting that as well. The parking variance is of huge note, and this has come as a new change since the last meeting that we had with them. Your required spaces is already not quite enough. And as evidence, a few blocks, do I put this here and it shows? Can I show these?
Yeah, we'll turn on the overhead, and I'm going to give you about another minute, and then we're going to have to.
So 2 or 3 blocks away, they're on Sand Hill and Spino. There's dense buildings, and the parking overflows into the surrounding streets. Where this is located on Owens, there is no street parking. Owens is 3 lanes, 45 miles an hour. The next thing is Gateway Road is misleading. Gateway Road is a private street for our houses, and it is dirt. It is not city maintained in any way, shape, or form. They want to extend past easements out to the very edge of their property and give us a 20-foot lane to drive in and out. By the standards of Las Vegas's fire department for their access, you need a minimum of 24 feet for fire department apparatuses, the trash trucks, garbage trucks, and any delivery trucks. So the city, if they approve this as is, it's going to cut off access that we have.
Okay, thank you very much for your
you.
comments.
Good evening, Art Lanier, 1501 North Gateway Road. Kind of unique. I'm almost 68 years old, Same address my entire life. My dad died there, my mom died there, and depending on the decisions that are made here this evening, hopefully I'll die there. I've seen a great number of things change in this city, as you can imagine. Some of you may have been here your whole lives, I'm not certain. But where I'm at, when I was a kid, there was nothing but desert around me. We were RE, and we were rural. We had dirt roads, we didn't have asphalt. Gateway, as was just noted, is still probably the only street in Las Vegas that is not paved. The little bit of pavement that is there, my neighbor and I got together and we collectively did what we could on shavings that had been taken from other projects and put what we could down to try and abate the dust. I have no problem with that lot down there being developed, but I would like to see it not go from bad to worse. We were RE, we're a tiny little street, there's very few homes. We have precious little left of what I've had for my whole life. I'm asking you to allow us to keep what precious little we still have. The decision that rendered Gateway as narrow as it is was made here when the project to my east was developed. And our dedication of our frontage was basically put back in our laps so that that development could have 6 more homes. The city walked away from us. And that's why we're at where we're at. And I would invite any of you to come down there and look and see where we're at. This in no way, shape, or form is conducive to the neighborhood, the little tiny bit of dignity the Gateway still has. So I completely agree with your assessment that it's not conducive to the neighborhood, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Commission. My name is Scotty Marks, 1301 North Gateway Road. Some of my biggest concerns with this project are that there are 2 buildings, which would be these 2 buildings, these 2 buildings that come up to Gateway Road that do impede on the access, and that was kind of what was talked about by the first woman. And that does hinder services, including trash trucks. It does hinder services, including fire trucks. I'd also like to note that the neighborhood directly to the east of this only has 1 easement access to get to it for fire access. And the second easement is through that private street of Gateway Road. And so not only does it affect the 9 homes that are on the private road of Gateway, it also will affect the the tens of homes that are on to directly to the east. And so we would ask that the developer maybe come back with a different plan that is more conducive to not encroach on Gateway Road, that doesn't limit our access to the street. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'll close public hearing and have the applicants come back up and address the residents' concerns, please.
Yeah. Yeah, this is our access as they were pointing. We're not going to have nothing to do with Gateway. We're just going, of course, as everybody else, we're going to our property line. That's what we're doing on this case. Our property line is right here, so that's what we're trying to do. Indeed, this is the 2 buildings that they were referring to, and we don't have anything to do with this access. So I don't know if you have any questions, and we might answer from you.
Thank you very much. So I'll go ahead and turn this over to the commissioner. I think Commissioner Schlotzman.
Yes, Vice Chair, through you, I appreciate your time and I appreciate everybody coming out tonight. I haven't heard from you prior to this meeting. Wish we could have had a little bit of time to discuss. I appreciate you bringing it down from 6 to 5 buildings, but I mean, we're still faced with the same issue of the 69-foot residential adjacency setback, and also having the RCL and you know, the single-family homes just to the west side of you, which are you know, the density is a lot less than what we're actually building here. Something is going to be built here at some point, and you know, it's one of the issues. If nothing gets built, we have people that want to set up tents on properties and all of this other stuff, and constant maintenance issues and code enforcement issues. So something will come here. I do have a question for Public Works and for the fire department in regards to this. If there is a 21.5-foot street, what's the minimum width? that the fire department looks for in Public Works for Gateway in particular.
Vice Chair, through you, current standards is 24-foot wide is our minimum fire department access lane. However, this current easement is only 21-foot wide, so we wouldn't enforce them to go to 24 feet when all the easements all the way down are the same.
Okay,
David Cross for the record.
thank you.
And Lucian Pyatt for the record, Public Works. Again, Gateway is a basic private property, and it's not really a street. It was Gateway at one time and vacated, so the homes are addressed off of Gateway. But our minimum width for a public street would be like 36 feet flow line to flow line. As a private drive aisle, I believe it's the same as fire, 24 feet as a private drive aisle.
Thank you. And I appreciate you putting up the fence and the additional landscaping from where I've seen it at the previous month. But Commissioner Williams, I'd like to hear from other commissioners and before I make a motion.
Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Schlottman. I appreciate that you're trying to build additional housing, especially in this part of town, but I just don't think that 5 fourplex buildings is really compatible with the type of built environment that already exists. And as staff points out, it'd be spot zoning. I think if you came in, with the request to rezone to something like RCL, that may be more compatible considering it's directly to the east, as that's what the zoning is. That'll allow you to build a few homes, but certainly the intensity of the development that you're proposing is just not compatible with what's there. So I cannot support anything like that.
Thank you very much. And I too actually think that, understanding the importance of housing, but we don't want to force a project into an area that could negatively impact the surrounding areas from a compatibility perspective. So I actually think staff got this one. So I'll turn it
Mr.
over to
Vice Chair.
Yes, please, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to time it when you were done speaking. I just wanted to echo your statements, Commissioner Schlottman and Commissioner Rogan. I think this is far too intense. The setbacks are a great concern, and I don't think this is a project that I could support either, although recognizing the importance of development and being able to develop on these infill projects.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Vice Chair, through you, I'll just wrap up just by saying I do feel that this could work in a lot of areas within my ward, and I'd actually encourage it in a lot of areas within my ward. And it's just sometimes when we back up to some of these, rural RE lots and bigger lots, it's kind of hard when we place the higher density within that same neighborhood, especially like right on the entrance of Gateway leading down that street. So I understand their concerns, so, with the staff report calling this spot zoning, which I do feel it is. So for those reasons, I hope you can bring back a project that is a little bit more compatible with the neighboring community, and I'd love to support something in the future. But for now, I have to follow staff's recommendation for denial, and that is my motion on item number 31.
A through E.
Yes, Vice Chair, that's 31A through E.
Motion on the floor for denial.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
All right, that motion carries.
And Mr. Chairman, that item will move on to City Council on December 18th.
All right. We're going to move along in the agenda, going to item number 42. 24-0523 DIR1, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, discussion for possible action on a report regarding the Charleston Special Area Plan for the Charleston area, Ward 1 and Ward 3. Staff has no recommendation. Can we get well, there's no staff report, so I'll turn it over to staff here.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Chair. Marco Vallata, Department of Community Development for the record. I have here with us our Happy Cities project team who is working with us on the Charleston Special Area Plan. They are here this week conducting their second round of public engagement and outreach within the Charleston area. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over and we'll have a presentation for your information.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco. Hello, folks. My name is Hussam Alokta. Can you hear me well? I'm too tall for this. My name is Hussam Alokta. I'm a managing principal at Happy Cities. We're an urban design consultancy that helps city builders around the world to create happier, healthier, more inclusive communities. And we are the prime consultant that's working with the City of Las Vegas for the Charleston 2050 Special Area Master Plan. If you are not familiar about what we mean by the Charleston area, it is the area, one of the 16 areas identified by Las Vegas 2050 Master Plan as an area that needs a special area master plan. It's bound by South Buffalo, US 95, Rancho on the I-15 on the east, and Sahara at the south. And as mentioned, you know, the City of Las Vegas 2050 Master Plan identified a lot of key priorities for this area. It's kind of our role here is to respond to them and see how growth can happen within this area. So we are starting the second round of engagement with this work. We started this work earlier this year and did a round of engagement where we spoke to members of the public through stakeholder sessions, focus groups, pop-up events at various parks, transit stops. We did an online survey. In total, we reached more than 400 people. What we were asking people was to just give us an expression of what mattered for their communities, what their priorities were, and what their vision was for how the neighborhood of Charleston can grow over the next 30 years. This week we're coming back to the community to share the vision that we heard, effectively share what we heard from the first round, and get their feedback and confirm that we heard them correctly, and then do a second round of engagement asking them, you know, what actions they want to see implemented in their community. What we've put together and what we are sharing with members of the public this week through our engagement is a draft vision. And that, you know, vision is supposed to show how capture what the community told us of what kind of growth they want to see in their community and what increased amenities they want to see in their community. But before I kind of dive into that, it's really important to just set the context of why this matters. You know, Charleston has 75,000 or just over 75,000 people that live there, and the CLV 2050 projects that at least 10,000 more people are going to move in there within the next 30 years. So that growth needs to go in a planned way, in a way that mitigates the challenges of growth and harnesses the benefits of that. On top of that, you know, we're seeing this growing need for housing across the city. So that's another issue that we need to address. Other issues, you know, are of a more physical nature. You're talking about, you know, there are people within this community that can't get around because they either don't have a car, or like this kid in the picture there, they're too young to be able to drive. They have mobility issues like seniors and other reasons. And in these situations, people that have no access to a car are left, you know, not being able to access essential services, not being able to walk to transit because it's not safe to walk, or it's too hot, or many other barriers. So these are among the things that we're trying to address here. One of the key things, you know, even though it seems that there's a lot of road space, when you add 10,000 more people, if everyone comes with one or more cars, that's going to be a lot of traffic on the road. So how how can we grow without losing everything that people like about their communities is a really important component here. Another key thing is that, Charleston, has a lot of roads that sit on the high injury network identified in the Vision Zero document. It also contains several communities of concern, which discusses communities that have particular, prevalences of low income, seniors, communities of color that may have barriers to accessing certain services. And I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Marco, but I think 7 out of the 10, of the highest injury intersections in all of Las Vegas are in Charleston. So this work is really important to addressing these things. And the good news is that the RTC has received, over $5 million in the RAISE grant for the Charleston Boulevard upgrade. So this change that could come to this corridor, and we want to harness that change. I'm just going to jump ahead here. The key elements of the vision that we are presenting here, and what we heard from community members, is a clear distinction between how they want to see their neighborhoods grow and how they want to see their corridors grow. Within the neighborhoods, people want, gradual, positive growth. They want to avoid high-density development, and they want their streets to be safer. They want them to be slower and to prioritize the safety and comfort of residents. Within the corridors, there's more desire to see change happen there. We heard from residents that they don't want to, they want to replace the parking lots with more high-quality development. They want places that are safer. They want more destinations, places that they can walk to within their neighborhood. They want to be able to, access their daily needs without having to drive far or get stuck in traffic. And although they want to make sure that people can move through the communities and move through the key corridors, they want to also make sure that there are space for other modes like transit and other modes of transportation. We tried to look at it, it's a big area, so we're kind of cutting it up into smaller neighborhoods within it. And we did our best to, reach people from various areas and talk to different people. What I'm going to share is just, highlights of the vision that we heard from people. So for the local streets, which is mostly, the residential streets in the neighborhoods, people want to slow traffic by design. They want safer crossing. They want shaded streets and potentially elements of seating. When we asked people what are the street design priorities, feeling safe when you walk outside was very high up there, along with shade and making streets safe for children and the elderly. For transit, they want to see, Charleston to have safe, convenient, reliable transit that supports high-quality pedestrian-friendly development. So they want to see more comfortable transit stops. They want to see high-capacity transit. They want, development that is oriented towards transit, that can support the better transit that helps people move around the community. And they want better quality transit stations. One of the kind of overarching things is just have more options of getting around. So not being stuck with one option that is the car or else you're stranded, but to have a variety of options for different types of trips. If they're going longer distance, then they might need a car for that. But if they're going shorter distances, they might have, other options to open up for them. So for the neighborhood to facilitate these different types of options. I think the CLV master plan set a very ambitious target of public space for the neighborhood. And achieving that target in the 2050 will require, a lot of intention. So, including spaces in new development, investing in land for large parks, trying to provide at least some type of park or public space on each street, and providing shade and all of that. As well as, various civic amenities is one of the things that we heard as well. And of course, housing that is a bit more concentrated on the corridors, but still allows for, more services and more amenities within the neighborhoods themselves. For the corridors themselves, people want to see new development that's really positive, that adds, clear street edges, places that people can walk by and feel like they're, human scaled, that have a bit of variety, that provide greenery, wider sidewalks, pedestrian buffers, slower, better intersections that are safer, I'm just going to skip through some of these to stay in time. And the idea is to facilitate that growth within the corridors while protecting what people love about their neighborhoods, right? So the key challenge with that is it's such a massive area. And so one of the challenges is, okay, how do we actually catalyze this growth? It's one of the challenges that we see in areas that are trying to improve walkability and doing these things, is that if you try to spread out your actions on too wide, it feels like a sprinkle. Whereas it's hard for people to see what the change can look like. So this was one of the key areas of focus, and we spoke to various agencies at the City of Las Vegas and landowners and developers and medical district and stakeholders. And one of the things identified here is what we're calling priority catalytic redevelopment areas. It's a very clunky name. I know we're trying to maybe think of something that's more catchy, but the idea is if you can show exactly what the final transformation can look like in a constrained area, people can see the full range of benefits that come with this type of growth. It's sort of like with the arts district. You've seen that come together in a comprehensive way, in a way that people could feel how this has improved their lives. And so being able, once you showcase it, being able to replicate these things in various other places. So we went through like a whole list of criteria to identify the ideal places, including appropriateness of the site, age, condition, all these things. And I basically identified that main corridor of Decatur and Charleston to be a main one, with potential conditional areas like the College of Southern Nevada that's looking to potentially redevelop Meadows Mall and parts that are connected to the medical district. These spaces are large enough to actually have development. They might not look large, but there's actually like precedents that are really great across the country that fit multiple times over in some of these lots. And the idea is to create the conditions that developers and landowners will want to develop them, create time-limited financial incentives and packages that they can create these things together quickly in a coordinated fashion so that we can see results right away. So that's what we're sharing with the public, this type of vision. We're hoping to hear from them, confirm the elements of the vision that we have heard it correctly, and then ask them, okay, like what they feel are the priority intervention areas and actions that we need to take with this plan. The goal of us is to have a draft plan in the winter of 2025 with the final round of engagement in the spring, that we can share this plan and hear again from the public about how we can refine it and whether we got all the elements of it correct.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the focus. Specifically from my perspective, I appreciate the focus on safety, transit, and housing, and understanding that this was, a presentation for an update and an overview. I'd like to take a moment to see if any of my fellow commissioners have feedback they'd like to. Commissioner Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a series of questions that are going to deal with safety, public safety as much. The light rail system that you're talking about, how far east and how far west is being planned for that light rail system?
I think that's a question for Marco.
Commissioner, to the Vice Chair, to you. The RTC is currently undergoing an alternatives analysis for the type of transit mode that they're looking at for Charleston itself. And their project limits right now are essentially Pavilion Center in Summerlin, all the way to Nellis Boulevard in Charleston at east to west.
Yeah, so you're talking about Pavilion Center right near the Costco is what I'm thinking, out west?
Near Red Rock Casino, yes.
And then it would go as far as to the east?
To Nellis Boulevard, roughly. And of course, the actual routing has not been determined, whether it goes through downtown on Charleston or comes up to the Bonneville Transit Center. That's another question that still has to be determined, and what happens at either end would have to be figured out through this process.
Okay, and then the crosswalk safety of the light rail system, how are you going to, if it's not a current stop, people will try to get to the other side of the street? Have you taken that into consideration?
So Commissioner, to the Vice Chair, to you, I think the closest way to envision such a transit system is if it is center running, which again will have to be determined through the alternatives analysis that RTC is conducting right now. It would look a lot like how Grand Central Parkway is or Casino Center Boulevard is. So there would be mid-block crossings, and there would be crossings where there are stations, and then of course at the intersections themselves. Boulder Highway is undergoing that same treatment right now, where there's going to be center running transit in the middle of Boulder Highway, and there are going to be opportunities for people to cross safely, facing traffic so they can see what's oncoming, and then protected bike lanes and bike facilities, wider sidewalks. It's meshing the private space with the right-of-way and designing that, the corridor appropriately.
Yeah, I'm starting to get a lot of calls on this, as far as from other areas of the city. The other one is, have you considered an overhead rail system?
Mr. Commissioner, to the Vice Chair, to you, at this time, I think all the options are on the table as far as what those alternatives are. There hasn't been anything overhead that's been proposed thus far. As far as I've heard, I think the focus has been on the ground level itself for that entire length.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Schlossman?
Yes, Vice Chair, through you. Just a couple of comments. I always appreciate everything the city is doing, from the planning department to public works with pedestrian safety. Going back 10, 15 years, I've seen probably a dozen or more people either killed or being carted off in gurneys that have been hit on Charleston Boulevard, east of Las Vegas Boulevard, and it's because you get these long blocks where you have stoplights only like every 4 to 5 streets or blocks. So people are crossing, they don't know where to cross. Sometimes there's not even crosswalks at intersections where there's not a light. So they don't necessarily, they try to cross in mid-blocks and everything else. So about 8 years ago, the city put in Danish offsets in those crosswalks, and the number of fatalities that I've seen in the past 5, 6 years has been 0. I mean, the city did such a great job with it. And so I just encourage you to keep doing it. It looks like you are doing it. You're doing it with this plan. Every time you come up here, you're talking about it. Spend a lot of time in San Diego, especially during the summers when it gets super hot out here. And you would think a great city like San Diego would be #1 in pedestrian safety. I have to say they're probably last in pedestrian safety. I always measure the city of Las Vegas up to other cities, and as I walk around these other cities, I'm stepping in water meters that's recessed down, that's sunk, sidewalks that are picking up, narrow sidewalks that you can't hardly get a wheelchair around, and there's no crosswalks in a lot of areas of San Diego. So thanks for all that you are doing. Keep it up, and I appreciate all the work.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Rogan?
Thanks. Thank you, Marco, and I'm sorry I've forgotten your name. Hussam, for coming out tonight. I just, echoing Commissioner Schlottman's comments, everything that long-range planning is doing, Happy Cities is doing on this project has been more than I could have expected. I think this is a great job so far, and I hope that this continues in this vein going forward. Just in what you've reported, I like what I'm hearing. I like the idea of incremental change, of gentle densification in certain areas and a little bit more in others along the corridor. I think that fits nicely with what the master plan requires and what we need in the city of Las Vegas. I also like kind of what you've indicated tonight, where we don't need to address the entire corridor of Charleston or the entire Charleston area, but just pick these few great blocks to show exactly what can be done and to spur adjacent landowners to develop on their own once we do that. The one thing that I will continue to say is that the success of the Charleston area plan all comes down to transit and to our streets, in my view. If you look at Main Street, you look at downtown, all of that was done was accomplished, not all of it, but a lot of it was accomplished by just changing the streets, putting in street trees, widening those sidewalks, slowing down traffic, and making an area where people want to come and want to walk and want to spend time and money at the stores and bars and restaurants in the downtown arts district. And if you think back, just, what was it, 10 years ago, you had 5-foot sidewalks down in the arts district, and nobody wanted to be there. Nobody. It was not an inviting place. And so that's going to be true for Charleston, and I think that's true for Sahara. If we're not willing to address major issues like putting in street trees and providing for protected bike lanes and wider sidewalks, then we're not going to accomplish any of this. And most importantly, of course, is a new form of transit, because as you pointed out, 10,000 new people all driving cars, that's going to clog those streets to no end. So there has to be some sort of transit. But again, it all comes down to the road. So I hope the entire city, including the Department of Public Works, is kind of supportive of perhaps looking at different modes of transit other than cars and adjusting the capacity of our streets accordingly. So that's my comments, and again, great job. I hope you continue doing great work over the next year or so.
Thank you very much, and thank you tonight.
Yep. And Commissioners, I'll leave you with one other thing here as it relates to this. Again, the Happy Cities team is here this week. They're conducting public outreach across the neighborhoods here. We have 2 stakeholder meetings that will be happening Thursday and Friday. And there is a survey that is out for the public to take. We have it on our project website, as well as the information that's in the vision document that's also on our website at lasvegasnevada.gov/Charleston. And you can find that there, and then some of the information about where they go for the outreach itself. And this does dovetail with a lot of other complementary efforts that are going on. The city and RTC, we're partner in an FTA grant for transit-oriented development. We did receive $300,000 through the RTC for that. That was just announced last month. And then there's, of course, the alternatives analysis. And then going into the next legislative session, we do have a bill draft request that deals with some of the incentives, specifically TIF, that complement what happens in the redevelopment area. So again, a lot of that will be kind of the policy that will run concurrent to this. So I encourage the public and you, this body to take a look at what they've produced thus far. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have one more comment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, other council members. My only question is basically a recommendation. If you could, in these planning stages, please reach out to fire rescue and EMS in those quadrants, and you'll get some really good data to make some good decisions on in that part. And that should be available to them.
Yep, thank you.
And could you notify us when they have the community events or the reach out programs? Especially if they go in any of our individual communities, we'd like to be. I would like to be there. I have my own. Okay.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, item 35, abeyance 24- So that item was listed as a public hearing item. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close public hearing.
Chair, this is for, Vice Chair Williams, this is Brian Carroll, Deputy Clerk. This is item for 42, I believe we're on?
Yes.
And it's listed as discussion for possible action on a report, so I believe we would need to accept the report if you're, it was motioned, it was agendized as an action item.
Mr. Chairman, it's up to you. If you want to make a motion to accept the report, you can, but no action is required necessarily on this because the plan is not complete yet, and they'll be bringing a final plan before you on the timeline that they just outlined.
Thank you. We'll make a motion. So I'll make a motion for approval accepting tonight's report.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
And And that motion carries. Thank you. Now, moving to item 35, abeyance 24-0397, applicant owner Jack Parapovich for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request on 1.22 acres at the northeast corner of Duncan Drive and Leon Avenue, Ward 5. Staff recommends denial. Can I get the staff report, please?
Mr. Vice Chair, before you do that, I just wanted to advise that I'm in the notification radius and not able to exercise independent judgment on this item, so I will be abstaining.
Thank you very much. Can we get the staff report, please?
Before staff starts, Mr. Vice Chair, I'm going to abstain on this item as I have worked with Mr. Jack Popovich with Complete Dental Services for a number of years. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, despite the applicant submitting revised plans in order to eliminate the previously requested waivers, staff finds the proposed general plan amendment and rezoning remains too intense for the area, and the proposed warehouse development is not harmonious or compatible with the surrounding area, and staff recommends denial of all applications. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we get your name and address for the record, please?
Molly Taylor, 8414 West Farm Road, Las Vegas, 89131.
Thank you very much. Can you tell us about the project?
Yes. First, Vice Chair, we would like to thank you for holding this item so we could see you at this site once more, and along with having a rendering put together, which you can see is on your screen. As this item is noticed, we are asking for a general plan amendment from desert rural to light industry research and a rezoning from residential estates to commercial industrial. These requests are to allow the property owner to locate his business to the site. Part of this request includes a 2-story, 3,000 square foot office building with an outdoor storage area for some equipment. As our rendering depicts, the business will be screened by an 8-foot block wall surrounding the property. We are excited about bringing this project to the area. It will be a great addition to what's already developed and will be less intrusive to the few residents that live on Leon Avenue. It is worth noting that the applicant, Mr. Parapovich, lives at 3901 Leon, which is just 2 parcels away from this proposed development. Just to orient you with what is currently in the area, to the east of us at 5538 Duncan Drive is an 8-acre skilled nursing center. To the west of our property is a half-acre parcel that is home to the Las Vegas Septic Service. And the septic business uses Leon Avenue as one of their ingress-egress to their business. This parcel is also zoned C2. Adjacent to the septic business is a communication company at 3850 Leon Avenue, and this parcel is also zoned C2. They use Leon as one of their ingress-egress points as well. Adjacent to the communications company at 3900 Leon Avenue, there is another C2 zoned parcel that has ingress, egress onto Leon Avenue. There is some heavy equipment being stored on this site, and we could not find a business license tied to this property. I mention this because all of these parcels are directly across the street from the residential on Leon, unlike our property that's located on the corner of Leon Avenue and Duncan Drive. We say all this and share with you the contrast between our proposed development and what is already there, which clearly has to be a nuisance to the only four residential properties located on Leon Avenue. If you look at our rendering, you will see that we are providing the required landscaping, and in fact adding additional landscaping along the northern property line, which is where our property shares a border with the only residential use next to us. And at this time, I'd also like to submit that we did receive a letter from Mr. Jose Martinez, who is that only resident, Planning Commission, my name is Jose Martinez. I live with my family at 3851 Leon Avenue, which is adjacent to 5600 Duncan Drive. I am looking forward to 5600 Duncan Drive being built and improved with an 8-foot CMU wall, which will protect my property. I am also looking forward to the many trees being planted to brighten up the neighborhood. We ask the Planning Commission to approve the zoning change at 5600 Duncan Drive, signed Jose Martinez. In addition, we have agreed at the suggestion of Commissioner Williams to not have any ingress or egress off of Leon Avenue. The only entrance to our development will be off of Duncan Drive. However, we will have an emergency crash gate installed on Leon for the fire department. And finally, we are providing 10 parking spaces where only 6 are required. While we do not anticipate much traffic, our client runs a demolition business, and most of the equipment and business is done at the job site itself. With that said, we would respectfully ask for your approval and are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This item was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close public hearing and turn this over to myself. And so again, Mr. Perovich, thank you for the allowing us time to regroup and come back out and really look at the project. We appreciate the work that was done here to really be able to orient the commission in terms of what you're trying to do. This particular parcel and area of town is continuing to be in transition. Rancho in its entirety, right? There's all kinds of zoning changes and different projects happening. Still a tough project. You know, I can appreciate the walls and the trees and everything that's being added, and certainly the way you plan to mitigate the traffic off of the main street. It does sit across from a septic tank business, which is, you know, interesting in itself. And just understanding how this sits on the corner and the immediate resident, I think you said that's Mr. Martinez.
Correct.
Whom we had a chance to see where his residence is out there. So it's better than I think what was first proposed in terms of what you guys are trying to do, and it just wasn't clear. I would open it up to the rest of the commission for any commentary or questions you may have on it. Mr. Rogan.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and through you. I tend to agree with you. This is a kind of a neighborhood that's sticky. It's in a little bit of, as you point out, transition. You've got that commercial right there to your west and some residential to your north and to your south, and then that nursing home right immediately to the east. My only concern, and this is probably why I'm leaning towards denial, is that you're asking for zoning that really is not that compatible. One of the things that I do whenever I see a zone change is what other types of uses other than what you're proposing could be used there. And when I come across something like an escort service, I'm a little bit apprehensive of that type of use being able to go there once we initiate this zone change. So really it's 50-50 for me in terms of this spot, but just seeing that, I'm leaning against it. So, but I'm willing to be convinced by other commissioners.
I'm sure Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Williams has made a pretty good observation, and I'm gonna go with his recommendation on it as well, because it sounds like it's a very complex area out there, and since he's been there and talked to the individuals, I will probably go for the project.
Thank you very much. So I think at this time, I'm going to go ahead and make a recommendation, make a motion for approval on item 24-0397, and this will be an approval for B and C only.
Mr. Chairman, we would need to approve the general plan amendment before we could approve the rezoning.
So correct that. We'll make a motion for approval for items A through C on abeyance 24-0397. Motion's on the floor.
Commissioner Taylor?
And Mr. Chairman, the effect of that motion on the GPA under NRS 278, you would need 5 members to approve the GPA, so the GPA will move forward with a no recommendation, and the simple majority is sufficient to pass the rezoning 35B and 35C, and all 3 of those will move on to City Council on December 18th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Moving on to item 36, 24-0290, VAR1, applicant owner Rebecca Hurst and Mark Nicholson Hurst for possible action on a land use entitlement project request to allow a proposed residential accessory structure garage that does not conform to Title 1906 development standards for building separation and placement on .29 acres at 1312 South 7th Street, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Vice Chairman, staff finds that no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and that the applicant has created a self-imposed hardship by proposing to construct a residential accessory structure in front of the primary dwelling that does not meet separation requirements. Creating interior access between the proposed structure and the primary dwelling would allow conformance to Title 19 requirements. As such, the hardship is self-imposed, and therefore staff recommends denial of this variance request. If approved, it will be subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Mark Hurst, 1312 South 7th Street.
Thank you. Can you tell us about the project?
So we are looking to convert our carport, which has seen better days, into a garage. The garage is going to be in keeping with the rest of the house, probably more so than the current carport is. With it being a 1950s house, we have concrete block walls, and going into where the garage is going to be goes straight into a bedroom or a tiny restroom that isn't big enough to fit the required door width. So we're just looking for a variance to be able to have a side door from the garage, which will be adjacent to the front door of the house.
Thank you very much. This item was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. There's a couple of microphones here if you guys want to step up to both mics to be ready, and please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, David Figler, 1302 South 6th Street. I'm in the notification zone. I don't have any special connection with my neighbors, Mark and Rebecca, other than to say that they, since they moved into the neighborhood some years back, have been thoughtful and engaged with the rest of the neighbors. I walk my dog at least once a day, sometimes twice, weather dependent, right by that property. And the picture that you saw on the first slide of that gorgeous home is a result of the thoughtfulness and care that they've put in restoring that 1950s home. I did want to point out, as I'm often here in my former capacity as the president of the historic John S. Park neighborhood, that this particular segment of our neighborhood is not designated historic, so it doesn't have those limitations for conditions. I will say this, that of all the houses in the neighborhood, this one is a showpiece because of the efforts of the applicant. It is both in manner of character and in style, something that I think we show off when we take people through the neighborhood to see what it is. And the last point I'll make is that I've been monitoring our internal Facebook page. Mark and Rebecca immediately posted their plans for everybody to read. They've been extremely transparent. The project that's being presented today is exactly what they presented to the neighborhood, and the neighborhood consensus is in support of our neighbors for this modest project that will only further enhance both their property and the neighborhood. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Shane Terry. That's S-H-A-N-E, Terry, T-E-R-R-Y, and I'm at 1301 South 6th Street. I'm immediately adjacent to Mark and Rebecca on the backside of their property, so I'm extremely familiar with this property. I can look into it from my yard, maybe because I'm a little bit tall, but I can tell you that everything that they've done since they've moved in has definitely elevated the community, challenged the rest of us to kind of step up and improve our properties in the same way. I don't see it affecting any sight lines whatsoever. And I'll echo what David said. They've been very active on the community social media. I've seen a lot of people that are familiar with the project, that are supportive of it, and we're really looking forward to hopefully getting approved this night, but we're in full support of it over on my side.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Seeing no further comment, I'll close public comment and turn this over to the commission. Commissioner Schlossman.
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, I had a chance to review this, and you know, typically I'm not big on building carports and garages in front of houses. However, this one isn't an add-on. It looks like it was originally built with the house and it's integrated into the roof. And you're not extending this out further. You're tearing down what is actually there and rebuilding in that same location. And one of the things I read in the justification letter, or I think it was your justification, or maybe I think you emailed me as well, and I'm looking at the photo, part of your house is sinking where that carport is, and you can't get your vehicle in any further. So for all those reasons, I can get behind this, and you actually put a nice looking garage door and integrated that roof line directly in, so I can get behind it and ready to make a motion.
Please do.
Mr. Chair, on item 3624-0290, VAR1, move to approve, subject to staff's conditions, and you agree with all staff's conditions of approval? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Motion on the floor, motion for approval.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
That item carries.
And that item is final action tonight unless appealed to the city clerk in 10 days.
All right, we're going to item 32, abeyance 24-0305, applicant AMH Development LLC, owner Precedent Properties LLC and Verlaine LLC for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request on 3.18 acres generally located on the northwest corner of Ann Road and Leggett Road, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. On the GPA and the zoning, staff recommends denial on the variance 1 and TMP1. Can I get the staff report, please?
Mr. Vice Chairman, staff finds the proposed density and intensity of the proposed ML General Plan land use designation and RCL zoning district is appropriate for this area and is compatible with adjacent multifamily and single-family residential land use designations. Furthermore, the City of Las Vegas 2050 Master Plan has identified the provision of additional housing as a key priority to accomplish within the next 30 years. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the requested general plan amendment and rezoning. However, staff finds no justification has been provided for the requested variance to allow a non-standard cul-de-sac where a cul-de-sac or hammerhead terminus is required, and to allow a connectivity ratio of 1.00 where 1.30 is required. As such, staff finds that no extraordinary circumstance relating to the physical characteristics of the land has been presented to warrant the requested variance associated with the proposed residential development. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested tentative map and associated variance. Please note there has been additional documentation of protests submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name's Bob Gronauer, 1980 Festival Plaza Drive. I'm here representing the applicant in these matters. The first thing I'd like to do is give you the location of our property that's before you tonight. On the overhead here, as you can see highlighted in yellow, this is a little bit over 3 acres of property. This is on the north side of Ann Road and on the west side of Leggate Road. You have Cimarron, which goes north and south in this area here. As you take a look at this area here, you can see that this is an infill piece of property. You have some commercial
commercial development that exists here. You have some vacant property here and some existing homes in the area. And you have this little 3+ acre piece of property that's vacant. If you're familiar with this piece of property, over the many years, there's been numerous of applications on this property for commercial development that have never been moved forward, from office to car washes, through mini storages, et cetera. So this has not been the first time that this piece of property has come through the entitlement process. This is, as I said, has happened on numerous occasions. But what's most important here is I believe this is the first time this has a residential component to it. And this is what our application is for single-family homes that you see before you tonight. We believe, and staff recommends approval of the application for the master plan amendment. The reason is we're taking from office down to the medium-low density. As staff has mentioned, as you take a look in this area here, this is a good buffering to the existing residential with the commercial that's located here. But more importantly, also, when you take a look at the area here, the homes that we're proposing are going to be similarly like the other homes in the general vicinity when you take a look at the entire area. But also, what's important to note in the staff report, as I mentioned, subject to your 2050 master plan that you put together, you're going to have over about another 300,000 plus or minus people, I believe, moving here between now and 2050. And because of that, you're going to need some additional housing. As you know, in Southern Nevada, we were dealing with a housing crisis. Residential is a premium. In here, I believe the totals in your staff report came out to the need for potentially another 360,000 plus or minus homes or residential units in the area to help fulfill what is going to happen in the future. So when you take a look at different areas and something like this piece of property here, you weigh all those factors into consideration. And as I already mentioned, what's important is you've had commercial type of development on this piece of property that wasn't supported. So what you want to look at then is what is going to be the most compatible thing if you can't get some of these other commercial uses approved on here, which is going to be residential. Your staff is recommending approval of the residential zone change that we have before you, and then I'll get into the site plan with respect to the variance for the connectivity and our cul-de-sac that is not to the standard design. But I thought it was important to point out to you, at least from a zoning application standpoint, where we are. So tonight you're going to hear two different stories as we go through. There's some opposition here. We've had a total of 2 neighborhood meetings. We had a voluntary neighborhood meeting. We had a neighborhood meeting that's required by code because of the general plan amendment and the zone change and the applications we're going through. We've also had 2 open houses because I'll explain to you who the applicant is and what we're trying to show to the neighbors. So first of all, one of the stories that you're going to hear tonight is about the applicant, okay? The applicant is American Homes for Rent, okay? They are currently the 39th largest home builder in the country. What they do in their portfolio is they build communities such as this as subdivisions, and instead of selling those homes immediately, they lease the homes, okay? It is a successful program. They have over 2,000 homes here in Southern Nevada. They're across 21 states, and they have hundreds of thousands of homes already built in residences throughout the United States. So they know what they're doing. Their market cap is approximately $16.5 billion. You'll hear some stories that the neighbors may think that they don't have the ability to come in and develop this property. They have the ability to develop this property just like any other major home builder, public builder that we represent. As I said, it's just a different business plan. So part of this conversation that you're going to hear, and I'm going to get out of that quickly before I get back to the relevant part of just the zoning application, is the type of people that are renters, okay? The renters that we have here are no different than the people that you know and are probably your family members, okay? And they may be families of kids that play with your kids in those neighborhoods. These are police officers, these are firefighters, these are teachers, these are retail clerks, these are managers. These are people who want to live in a community like this and choose not to buy a home, okay? And I don't know about you, but I know I have kids and they're looking to buy homes. They can't afford homes, and it's easier to rent than it is to buy. And then there's other people that I know in families that just don't want to buy, right? They don't want to be saddled with a $500,000 mortgage. They'd prefer to be able to have that mobility if they need to leave. One of the important parts about the program that American Homes for Rent has, it's a mandatory one-year lease, okay? And what's interesting about that is that the people who are the renters within American Homes for Rent typically rent for about 3 or 4 years. So what that means is they're doing a pretty good job. They have 90% occupancy rates here in Southern Nevada, but more importantly, not only if the person's leasing that house once for 1 year, they're doing it for 3 or 4 years on an average. So the reason why I bring that up is because you're going to hear other information here that this creates crime, this devalues the neighborhood, that this isn't good for the community. It actually is. From a value standpoint, if these homes were sold, our smallest home would be approximately $484,000 if it was sold on the market. We have a $516,000 home and a $538,000 home. So the rents in here is market, okay? That's what it is, it's market. The rents are gonna go anywhere from $2,550 a month all the way up to $2,825, okay? So the type of people in the credit facility that these people have, or the credit scores that they have, are quality people. And I wanted to make sure I mention that and stress that to you, because sometimes people, when you hear someone's renting, they look at renters as a little bit less valuable than the person who owns a home. And those are the conversations that unfortunately I've represented American Homes for Rent for the last 8, 10 years since they've been in the market doing this. And these are the conversations you have and you got to get through. So that's the first part of the conversation that we dealt with. The second part of the conversation, which is more relevant to me, which is let's take a look at the site plan. Let's see how we're actually planning this piece of property. So one of the things that I want to point out is we are coming in with an RCL development. It's under 8 units an acre. What we wanted to do is we have 25 homes. We have ingress and egress out on the Leggett, which is on the east side of our property. This is Ann Road, which is located here. During our neighborhood meetings and our conversations, we took to heart what the neighbors have mentioned, because one of the things that you want to make sure you're more concerned about when you're going through designing a project is the edges of this property here. You want to make sure you address their concerns. Well, you know, most of the time you hope you can come back to this podium and say, hey, we resolved everything. But what I can do is, at least for this conversation here, is we've made some changes and concessions in trying to make this even more compatible for a single-family residential development. What you will see here in the blue, you'll see these lots that are highlighted. The lots that are highlighted are going to be single-story homes. We didn't start out that way. Our initial application was 2-story homes. That's what we wanted to do. However, we listened to some of the concerns of the neighbors, and we thought maybe we could do this with some 1-stories, because there are some 1-story and 2-story homes in this area that we back up to. If anything, in trying to work with the property owner, has a nice property located here. As a matter of fact, just give you an aerial here. This is the property located here. You have a big barn or garage area. You have his home located here, fronting out onto Cimarron. And our property actually slopes about 4 feet from the west property line to the east. And if you're familiar with development in the northwest, that's typical. West to east, you have a significant drop in grade. So one of the things that we wanted to do, we're going to be lower along the west property line, but in conversations, and not that they're 110% in agreement on this, we're still going to live up to a proposal to, if this is going to be approved, to put a 10-foot high block wall along the west property line. That is in some conversations with some of the neighbors. I don't think they're still in support, but I think that was something that was thrown out there that we'd like to throw out there. And then also with, along this property line here, we wanted to make sure we had some single stories. We line up with another house located here and another home located here, and these lots are actually side loaded. So we've increased the side yards in these areas here to give us a little bit of room to add some additional landscaping in that area so that we could do something in there. With respect to the variance for the connectivity ratio, this is typically something that we run into. We have connectivity out to Leggett. We don't meet that on the 1.3. There's no way for us to get into the property to the west or to the north in this area. So we do feel that because of the existing nature of the homes, that does give us some form of a hardship there to justify what we're asking for. So in conclusion, we believe that the application that's before you is a very good application. It's an infill piece of property. It is single-family homes. These aren't multi-family homes. More importantly, as far as from an upkeep, that has been a concern. If you think about this, if you live in an HOA subdivision, if you think about it, there's a lot of turnover in those HOAs and those communities. I know that in my subdivision I've lived in 4 years, we have 3 community managers in 4 years, right? So you get a lot of turnover. The bonus with this, when you have a subdivision like this, and we've had shown the neighbors this is one asset under one management. So they make sure they maintain the interiors, the exteriors, they want to maintain. This is a significant asset. When you start adding up all the values in here and the amount of millions of dollars that are going to be put into this property, you want to make sure that your asset is actually going to be good, okay? Good looking, good performing asset. So we feel that this is, if anything here, is definitely going to be a plus in this area. Instead of fighting commercial every time over several years of dealing with commercial on this property, this is a good infill piece of property. Put this type of housing product in here to assist the community. So that being said, I'm here to answer any questions. I'd like to make sure I can answer additional things I may not be able to answer here or brought up in the presentation, but I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. This item was noticed as a public hearing item. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. We've got a few mics.
I can't believe I'm still awake.
Thank you very much. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Leslie Johnson Murphy, 7900 Kiowa Circle. Can I submit this? This is basically
Yes.
pretty important. It tells about the company. So I'm going to make sure I wrote this down so I can remember everything. There were 286 in-person signed petitions submitted against this proposed project from the neighborhoods surrounding it. This includes Painted Desert in Ward 6 directly across the street. Some of the opposition to the project includes the zone change to a higher density than anything in the area, proposing 25 homes on 3,000 and 4,000 square foot lots adjacent to RE property, half-acre and 1-acre lots with homes on them. This would drive more traffic to the corner of Ann and Leggett that will not have a signal. This has always been denied. There's no signal to be there. This corner already presents a problem with ingress and egress to Ann Road. There is concern that there would be overnight parking on Leggett since the development would not allow overnight parking on their streets. This would place them alongside our side street, which would be Leggett. The more people you have in a condensed area, the more likely you are to have an increase in crime. Corporate-owned and managed tracts like the one proposed would diminish home values in the area and not increase it, rather than increase it. Some of the people that were opposed to this in the first place wanted to keep the OP zoning and the plan. We were sold a community years ago by the city council when they changed it from RE to OP. We were sold that, and we were sold the plan, we went for the plan, and then they flipped it immediately. There's a lot of people that would like to just keep it OP. We're not opposed to homes. We're opposed to this type of homes and the condensed properties. The density is too much right against RE property.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to go next, Vicky?
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sandy Standier-Baklasian, STHANDIER-BAKLAJIAN, and I live at 5700 Whale Rock Street. I am opposed to this project. I've moved to Las Vegas, not for condensed lots. I looked specifically for an area where I could be comfortable, where my family would be comfortable. And to be honest, I'm really disappointed that these communities are popping up all over Las Vegas. No one ever said, I'm moving to Las Vegas for high density anything. And so, to me, the fact that the way they're looking at this plan is 2 people per bedroom plus 1. So if it's a 3-bedroom house, that's 7 people. That's an increased amount of cars. It is not a large area, and they are right next to areas that have horses, areas that are rural. They're not just next to this very small strip mall that's there, that has been there. These communities that are immediately around it are communities that have been there for 40, 30, 20 years. These are not new communities that are coming in. We looked at the communities, we saw what we liked, and that's where we invested. We didn't come in and ask for master plan changes. We didn't come in and ask for zoning changes. We didn't ask for that. We said, we like it here. We would like to build our lives here. And so we bought. But now to bring this, I don't think this fits in with our communities, any of the communities in the surrounding area. And so I can't honestly agree to what they're saying. It has nothing to do with looking down upon people that are renters. Of course people are going to rent. It's necessary to have that type of communities, but this is not the area. I am sure that there's plenty of areas in Las Vegas that are zoned for exactly what they would like. Why must they come into our communities that are already established and have been for
Okay.
40 years?
Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to
And that's
wrap up.
okay, that's okay. I can
Yeah.
end on that note. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Yes, sir.
Fabian Chapel, 5611 North Cimarron. My backyard's basically where they're going to be 25 new neighbors. Like she said at the beginning, I'm not opposed to housing, but kind of opposed to the whole density thing. And like she said, people can rent, that's fine, but they're kind of whitewashing that part of it, because when I did go to the meeting, they said it was a 500 credit score. I didn't even know you could get a credit score that low. That's not going to bring in good clientele. Sorry, not police. And that kind of, it's saying one thing and doing another. The other concern is no HOA. Vegas has HOAs. This city's built on that, and that's why it's so clean. And you go to neighborhoods, and even lower neighborhoods are very well upkept, because Vegas is predominantly HOA, and that really impacts and helps keep the communities up, whether they're high-end or low-end. And, them saying that, and then in the same breath saying one-year lease. I moved my daughter into a townhome in Redlands, California. 2-year lease is the minimum. So when they say long-term in 1 year, that's another thing that's there's just a lot of things that just don't, and like I say, I'm not against housing, because, they build, hey, that's part of it. But at the same time, I did buy the house based on it being light office and commercial in the backyard, and a lot of the, my purchase and my family, like a lot of these people, we enjoy having the bigger lots and having that serenity, and cramming in 25 houses in a kind of, subcompact lot with the parking and all the other things. I'm against it, and I'd prefer that they relook at the thing in the original master plan as to that community, and hopefully go back to something like that.
Thank you very much, sir.
My name is Renolfo Beltihar. I'm a retired lieutenant commander from the United States Navy. My property is northbound adjacent to this proposed plan that they have. My property is almost half acre. So what it means is I will be putting up with half of these 25 neighbors that is going to be living next to me in my property. I moved to this part of the town because it's peaceful. I don't need to worry about the city life. I don't need to worry about the density of living with other people this close. And the intense traffic that it will bring to the Leggett Road, it will have an adverse effect to where we're at. We are at Kiowa, 7909 Kiowa Circle. It is a private road. And for this reason, I oppose for this plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Harry Van Gorp, and I live in Canyon Creek North, which is a HOA community with almost 300 homes on the corner of Ann Road and Durango, directly next to this property. I've lived there for 29 years. I've been on the board for 25 of 29 years. So that whole thing about board members going away doesn't really exist in our neighborhood, but there are homes in our development that are almost half-acre lots. We have RV lots, we have 3-car garages, we have 2,000, I think my lot's 0.21 acres. And that plan was originally changed by Councilman Ross, may he rest in peace, to change it to the 3 RE1 lots to office professional. And it's sat there for 20 years now, undeveloped. Don't ask me why. The guy keeps trying to change things and rezone it to office. He doesn't want to build an office. He tried to get a terrible Hearst gas station with a car wash next to the car wash, and that didn't work. Then they tried to make a storage unit there with a vacant commercial lot in the back. They could sell off for a dispensary later on because it could meet the requirements of a dispensary. We beat that. Now we have this, where they want to go back to building these compact homes. Nothing against homes, but if you look up this company, they have Better Business Bureau complaints. I went to every meeting they've had at Jim Marsh. We got to talk to the people. They showed us the pictures. They changed from all 2 stories to the 1 stories. But this American Homes for Rent, if you Google that company, they have hundreds and hundreds of formal complaints from people that rent from them here in Las Vegas. I feel that there was a master plan incorporated in that area. My community's all 1 stories, and I'm not saying that has to be that way everywhere, but it was in a master plan back then. And building this high-density thing, in one of the meetings at Jim Marsh, we were even asking them, do they have the funding for this once the zone changes, gets pushed through and the zone changes get approved? Do they have the funding to build these 25 homes? The answer was no, at this time they don't. Someone asked, could you resell this property after you get your zone changes to compact lots? The answer at that meeting at Jim Marsh was yes. I'll end it at that.
Thank you very much, sir. And seeing no further comment, I'll close. Actually, we do have a... And if there's any other comments, can you please come forward? Thank you, sir.
Excuse me. My name is Father Dave Casaleggio, C-A-S-A-L-E-G-G-I-O, and I am probably more affected than anybody else. I have a half-acre with 2 horses. I have 3 dogs, chickens, and peacocks. And my property line in the back is 8 feet. My house is 8 feet from the to the property line of their development. I wish it wasn't rental. I really wish it would be, for sale. And the only reason there are good people that rent. The only reason for that is there's more stability. People tend to stay longer because they own the house versus renting the house. But I'm for this. And the reason I'm for this, and I don't see the density as a major issue. Yeah, I'm in the cul-de-sac with half-acre, but oh my God, all around us is equal, if not more density than what they're trying to put in. The reason I'm for this, and again, I wish it was something different. I wish it was half-acre or third-acre houses or, or whatever. But the reason I'm for this is because eventually something is going to go there. I've been in that house for on my property for 14 years. And, before that, I always lived in a rectory, but I ended up working at the prison, so they told me I could live where I wanted, and I lucked out and was able to buy the property and get my horses. But eventually, something's going to go there. We, as was mentioned, Terriblehurst tried, Storage Place tried, and eventually one of them's going to get through. As and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but it really depends on the council person for the area. 95, 98% of what's approved is approved because the council person for that area says yes. And it's possible in time that there can be a council person that will want something like a Terriblehurst there, or will want some kind of development there. And I don't want that. I want it, this is the best that I've seen. It's not the end of the world to have these houses there. The density is not totally out of hand, and because of that, I really hope it is approved, and I hope it goes forward. Again, I wish it was for sale. I wish it was half acre or third acres or whatever, but what they're proposing is the best that can be and the best that we can expect. Not ideal, but I firmly believe the best that we can expect. And again, good people rent houses. I'll say that again, good people rent houses. The problem with it is they don't tend to stay as long as people that buy a house. And I wish that for that reason, I wish it were different. Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, seeing no further comment, we'll close public comment, and Mr. Gronauer, allow you to respond.
I have about 4 points I want to make fairly quickly that was brought up in the opposition. Number one of the first things I want to point out to note is about parking on Leggett. I believe one of the ladies mentioned, this is Leggett here. We're more than willing to work with your Public Works Department. If it's feasible to have no parking signs out there, that's not a problem for us, okay? We have enough parking within the community. We're not asking for a parking variance, but that is something that would have to be discussed with you in Public Works, is if along Leggett there, we could put some form of no parking there to address some of the concerns. With respect to the amount of traffic on Ann Road and Leggett, I believe in your staff report, they mentioned that Ann Road today is about 31% capacity. With this project, they see negligible difference in there. So obviously at 31, and I'm not giving that number, making that up. That is coming from your Public Works Transportation. It's about 31% at capacity. I think they said Cimarron was currently about 7% capacity. This will move it up to about 9% capacity with this development that you see there. So as far as an impact on roads, I don't think you're going to see the impact on roads and on parking if we can do what we just mentioned. One of the other ladies mentioned about rentals in general. The truth of the matter is, and Ed, no matter what community you live in, there's somebody renting in those communities. By our research, you could go anywhere from 5% to 20% of a neighborhood that actually has rentals within that community itself. With respect to the HOA issue, as I was mentioning earlier, and I don't think I did a good enough job, so I do apologize to the gentleman. My point is we do have an HOA in place. It's by one community manager, which is AMH, that would oversee everything. And as my point is, and one of the selling points when I first started representing them on this, and then to understand, is that when you have one single management that has this asset here, instead of having other HOA turnovers over the years in community management, this is maintained way better than you'll have other types of subdivisions, okay? And there's other subdivisions, all fairness, that will maintain the same level that AMH will. But if you go through any of their communities, and if you have taken a look, and we showed them the one community, it's a Newton community, it looks like any other single-family suburban residential subdivision in southern Nevada. It's the same thing, it's just because of the rental component. That is the thing that throws people off a little bit with that. Rentals, as you know, in the rental market, we can have 3-month, 6-month, 9-month, year leases. It depends on whoever the landlord is and what their business plan is. And I think as the last speaker, Father Dave, has mentioned, which is part of my opening spiel, is this piece of property has had a lot of its battles in the history. I mean, and when you look at the historical perspective here, when you look at it, to me, as I said through the presentation, I believe some single-family component here of residential is good. And one of the things that we did, and I want to clarify here, and I think it's important as I'll conclude with this, We have, as you see, the one gentleman who is here, his lot is located here. And I'm going to show you, because what we have is a one side-loaded lot and one lot backing up. And our rear yard setback's about 30 feet. But as I said, there's an elevation difference there. So our land and our homes are going to be lower than his property, okay? So there is a shift in grade located here. We have, I think, 2 homes against these 2 lots that are here. Those are the single-story homes. And then we have a single-story, the one gentleman that spoke in opposition that lives here. We have a side-loaded lot, another side-loaded lot to Father Dave's lot. So I'll show you on the overhead here, as I was just showing you. We have the side lot, a rear lot, and then we have 2 rears and 2 rears facing these lots here. And actually, this is a side lot located here and a side lot to one lot located there. So what we wanted to do, as I said, from some form of buffering to address the issue of single stories, trying to put something in there so you don't have a 2-story home of a concern of what they had. So that being said, we'd ask you to approve this development. I'm here to answer any other questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. And I'll go ahead and turn this item over to Commissioner Kasama.
Thank you, Chair. And regarding this item, there's been obviously a lot of discussion on both sides. However, I do find the product harmonious and compatible with this area, considering its proximity to a lot of similar density on this block. I appreciate the buffer for the single story to the residents. While there are some residents that are in approval, I know that there's a concern. So I appreciate your gesture for the single story. I also appreciate that there is, the traffic study is part of the process as well, and making sure that, the egress and ingress are not detrimental to the community. Regarding the business model, that's not our purview here as a planning commission. We're looking at it from a zoning perspective. Although I will make a comment that in Las Vegas, 1 year is a standard lease term, and that is considered a long-term rent. Anything shorter than that is a short-term renter. For that, I'm happy to open it up to the rest of the commission if there are questions or other concerns or comments. No. Well, with that, then I will make a motion.
Oh, no, sorry, Commissioner Kasama, I actually did have some questions.
Mm-hmm.
Please do.
Fine. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So, Mr. Gronauer, can you, and you may have said this, and I apologize if I missed it, for that lots that are abutting the other homes, what is essentially the setback from the back door to the wall? Like, how much backyard is there?
Yep, I will give you in 1 second, making sure I give you accurate numbers. 30, 14. Okay. So this one here is a side lot, and this is about 7 feet for the side lot. This lot located here is 30-foot rear yard setback, so that's from house to wall. And as I mentioned, we're going to build a 10-foot high wall located on our side of the property also. This located here, I want to make sure, is another 30-foot setback from back of wall property line to rear of house. And then we have, I believe it's 14 feet is rear yard here, 10 is rear yard, 10 is rear yard here, and this is 7 plus or minus feet to side yards, which typically side yards about 5 feet, so we wanted to scoot it over a little bit more to give us a little bit more room and separation in that area. So those are the setbacks, and the setbacks have changed a little bit based on the model that we're building, so that's why you have a variety of different setbacks in that area.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about, you've got 2 variances that you're looking at, well, not the variance, but the tentative map. Can you talk a little bit about the fact that staff is recommending denial on your tentative map and what your view is on that, and why that denial, why we should approve above that the denial recommendation?
Yeah, number one is where we have a non-standard cul-de-sac design, which is located in this area here. We've had, not AMH itself, but other home builders have had other type of cul-de-sacs similarly approved in the past. We don't believe that this is a public safety issue in this area. The cul-de-sac that we have here in this area, and considering along with its length out to Leggett. The second variance is for connectivity ratio. This is what you see that pops up on many of your residential applications. We do, you have connectivity out here out onto Leggett, but as I mentioned is what we have to the west of us here. This is actually a vacant piece of property in here. You have an existing lot and you have a couple lots located here. So we would not have access coming out to the west. We cannot meet we cannot connect in that area. And the same thing to the north here. I'm sure the neighbors would not want us to try to have connectivity into their backyards or into the neighborhood in that area. So because of that, which is not unusual, there are many other connectivity variances that we've had approved in similar situations also. So that's our justification for the connectivity issue. So those would be the two variances and waivers that we're asking for.
Okay. Just a couple other questions, if I might, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you. So I know we talk about the need for housing, and I know you and I have talked in the past about affordability and not saying low-income housing, but just even our workforce. And so have you done any research as to whether or not at the rental rates that you're citing that our first responders, our teachers, those key stakeholders in our workforce are actually able to afford those prices?
Yeah,
since they are market rate.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so what we've done is, in doing the performas, we already have those block of people, of groups. There's more groups, but generally speaking, those are the groups that qualify typically in those areas of what the means are, what we're looking for. So in other words, yes, we're comfortable that someone who wants to live in the Northwest in this general location, these are the rates that you're going to be paying, and these are probably the rates that you have because we got to compete against the other rentals that are in Painted Desert or that's into the north and to the west of us. So those are other rental rates that we are looking at because we can't be substantially higher or substantially lower. Well, we could be substantially lower, I guess, but you're not meeting the market in that area. So it's all based off the market, and based off the market studies, what I explained to you, and I rely on my client, and we've had these conversations, as you mentioned, is that these are the demographics that you're looking at. You're looking at that workforce type of group to be able to afford something like this. And mind you, it's a preference, right? Sometimes, you're paying in apartments $2,200 to $3,000 to $4,000 to live in an apartment. It just depends on what type of style of living you want, and this gives you a little bit more luxury if somebody to have a house. If you have multiple kids like I have, you want to have a house, and put them all in their rooms. But no, that is something that we looked into, and I know my clients wanted to assure me as we were preparing that these are the target audience because that's who we rent to right now.
Thank you. I still have concerns about the density of this project in relationship to the neighbors. And, I think we've seen that there was a significant amount of opposition to this project. I'm really on the fence, Mr. Cronauer, but what I really want to also say is, given that you're bringing a project to Ward 6, I want to make sure it's very clear that my vote tonight, no matter what it is, should not be deemed as precedent for what you bring to Ward 6.
I understand that from one attorney to another attorney. I got you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, counsel. Okay, thank you, Vice Chair, for letting me ask my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Taylor. I'll turn it back over to Commissioner Kotama.
With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 32, abeyance 24-0305, public hearing applicant. And that would be for subsections A through D, subject to staff conditions.
Motion on the floor for approval.
Commissioner Taylor?
I'm sorry, I'm thinking. Aye.
That motion carries.
And those items will move on to City Council on December 18th.
Thank you very much, and if I can take a second, because I don't know if I'm going to be here in a month, but Commissioner Williams, I want to thank you on behalf of my law firm for all of your professionalism over the years of being a planning commissioner, and in case I don't see you next month, I think you might be here one more time, but if not, thank you for all that you do. You make a lot of hard decisions, and your professionalism is greatly appreciated on behalf of our firm, so you'll be missed. I know, Mr. Cherry, I think the same thing. I echo the same stuff to Sam also, but I want to thank you for your service. It's not easy. You don't get paid a lot, but more importantly, you put in the time, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you. And
Thank you.
guys have a good night.
Moving on to the next item, 33, abeyance 24-0391, applicant owner R&J Wholesale, Inc.
Can I just say something, sir? I know I'm not supposed to be here, but the reason why I come down here, I don't have no right to come over here. But just to tell you, I almost get hit on that Ann Road and Leggett Road 2 times. That's why my husband made a stoplight on the top of my scooter. And with all due respect, Father Dave,
Ma'am, we will have, if you,
I'm
if you,
sorry, but
if you,
I'm totally opposed for what he is saying, because my husband and I...
the item has been closed,
stay
ma'am.
in the house, and I can see the density over there.
Thank you very much. So abeyance item 24-0391, applicant owner R&J Wholesale, Inc., for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request at 2550 Fremont Street, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff finds the requested waivers and exceptions to be minor in nature and will not negatively impact the surrounding area. Furthermore, the proposed development is an example of rehabilitation and redevelopment of property as identified in the goals and objectives in Redevelopment Area 1 of the City of Las Vegas Redevelopment Plan. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the requested land use entitlements subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, can we get your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Joshua Bombala. Last name is spelled B-O-M-B-A-L-A. I'm here as a representative of Susanna Rutar Architect, and the address is 1950 East Warm Springs Road. Before I start with the presentation, I just wanted to give a quick thank you on behalf of myself and the owner to the board for allowing an abeyance of this project at the last Planning Commission meeting, and allowing us the opportunity to further discuss site improvements with staff and to meet with Commissioner Zlotman ahead of today's meeting. So I'll go ahead and just give a quick overview of the project. The site is zone C2, is approximately 24,394 square feet, and is located at East Fremont Street, Atlantic Street and Olive Street, with East Fremont Street here as the frontage. We are requesting a special use permit for used car sales and proposing to utilize the existing 1,327 square foot commercial building to support the business operations. The building stands approximately 24 feet high to the top of the roof. And the building facade includes paint brick veneer, earth-toned rock siding, and asphalt shingles. The proposed site offers 6 parking stalls, 1 van accessible ADA compliant parking stall, a car display platform, and is allocated space for 33 stacked parking spaces. The proposed landscape site improvements discussed with Commissioners Zlotman and staff include the addition of 22 trees and accompanying shrubs. This includes 4 trees added to the northeast side of the property, 4 trees along Atlantic Street, and 14 trees on Olive Street. Additionally, the site currently has a chain link security fence that was discussed during these meetings, and we propose to add a 6-foot tall wrought iron perimeter fence in its place. I'll go ahead and conclude the presentation there and answer any questions that
Thank you very much, sir. I'll go ahead and turn this item over to Commissioner Schlossman.
Public hearing.
This item was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I will close this item, close the public hearing, and turn this item over to Commissioner Slotman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Through you, want to thank the applicants sitting in the audience today and for your time meeting me on site and for not even hearing this and just holding it in advance, knowing that we're going to have some concerns last month. But we were able to, meet and go through a lot of these items. I wasn't really in support of this prior to that, and for reasons such as the narrow landscape buffer, which we increased to 15 feet. Thank you very much. And you put a lot of additional landscaping. I know we didn't want to put you didn't want to put the additional landscaping down the one street, but you gladly agreed to it that day, and so thank you so much. And another big thing to me was trying to get rid of the chain link, because, I understand brand new chain link fence, just spent the money on it, but if we're going to beautify our neighborhoods and make them look better, this planning commission, as far as I can remember, has always not granted waivers for chain link fences. So thank you for doing that. It's just, there's a couple little things such as the parking lot island trees. I don't think that parking lot island trees are necessary in the middle of a car lot. I feel that parking lot trees and shopping centers are good because you can park underneath them, get some shade while you go into the grocery store, but just vacant cars sitting in a parking lot, I don't think I don't think that they're necessary. And it's an odd-shaped lot, so it would take up a lot of the spaces for where you'd be displaying vehicles. And the only other place that we don't have landscaping, which I'm fine with, is button up to the apartment. This is the reason why. If you look at Google Maps, you might look at it and say, oh, well, there's just a little chain link fence and there needs to be a buffer. But if you actually go out and you drive the site, you actually see a pretty high block wall that's been stuccoed with a fence on top of that. So even if we put landscaping on the inside, it's not going to do anything for the apartments next door because they wouldn't see it through that block wall. So for all those reasons, I appreciate everything that you've done, meeting with me, resolving those issues. And the only place that we really have the landscape buffer issues is where we have limited areas where there's a building or whatever else along Fremont. So for those reasons, I can get behind this. And I don't know if anybody else has any comments. Okay, so on Mr. Vice Chair, through you on item 33, Advance 24-0391. And before I go there, I just want to make sure with staff that the chain link will be coming down and we don't need to do any additional conditions.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, through you, we did receive revised plans from the applicant that indicated a wrought iron fence in lieu of the chain link.
Thank you. And you agree with all the as if approved conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. On item number 33, Advance 24-0391, 33A and B, I move to approve subject to staff's conditions.
Motion's on the floor for approval.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
And that item carries.
And Mr. Chairman, that item will move forward to City Council on December 18th, 2024. Thank you.
Just want to say thank you.
All right, moving to item 37, 24-0407, applicant WDG Limited, owner Dan and Stephanie Martinez for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request on 1.39 acres at the southwest corner of Fremont Street and 8th Street, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, staff finds that the applicant is proposing to overdevelop the subject site as evidenced by the spot zoning request, thus allowing a building type and intensity that is not supported in the surrounding area. No growth or development factors in the community indicate a need for or appropriateness for this rezoning. A mixed-use development of 7 stories or 10 if incorporating a minimum of 10% affordable units would not require rezoning and would be compatible with the surrounding area. Staff therefore recommends denial on these applications. Please note additional documentation of support was received after publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Justin Martinez, 1729 Wandering Winds. Good evening, Commissioners. I just wanted to request a zone change from our current T5 to a T6, which is the majority of the properties within our Fremont East Entertainment District. This would allow us to create this project, and I think it would be more uniform with what that overlay and what the entertainment district has. And I appreciate the staff's comments regarding the 4 criteria needed for the zone change. I believe 1 and 4 we're in agreement with, but 2 and 3, I think we have some different ideas, and we'd like to share those with you, and also answer any questions you have about the project. So regarding number 2, as far as the zone change, I'm going to defer to Tom Wircher, our architect, and he can just give you his thoughts on why we conform to this zone change.
And so, Mr. Wircher, if you could just give us your full name and address for the record.
Tom Wooker, I am president of WDG Design, doing business as Wooker Design. I've been a licensed architect here in the Valley since 1990. Seen a lot of changes. Remember when Buffalo was dirt road? I've been working with Justin and his father for several months now, looking at what's kind of what is the highest and best use of this site. And what I'd like to point out, can I?
Absolutely, sure.
Apologies. So what we have is really an amenity-rich property. We've got Carson Avenue, we've got 8th Street, we've got Fremont Street, we've got the alley, and we've got the container park just to the west of the site. We've got a tenant space that faces Fremont Street. That would absolutely enhance and live up to the downtown overlay and the mission of the overlay, which we'll get into in a minute. We actually have a tenant space on Carson and 8th. This is on the edge of a food desert. So the plan there is to have a mini grocery store, a mini food outlet that would not only serve the residents of this development, but the residents across the street and catty corner. And for that matter, I don't know what they call the F9 anymore. I know it's changed names, but the other apartments in the neighborhood. The entrance is off of 8th Street, but there's 11,500 square feet of amenity space at grade. There's a pet park. There's all kinds of amenities. There is surface parking for all of the commercial areas, as well as a ramp to take you up to the parking garage for secured resident parking. As noted by staff, I lost my notes, there they are. We have 338 units. 21% of these are studios, so it's not studio heavy. This is not trying to jam a bunch of studios onto a parcel. Virtually 57% of these are 1-bedrooms. Many of them have balconies. Many of them have oversized living rooms and things like that. Additionally, there's 21% 2-bedrooms and a couple of splash of 3-bedrooms, 1%. It is 17 stories, but really part of the reason for that is it's 13 stories of units on top of 3 stories of parking on top of one story of what is really there to enhance the Fremont East District. The project really is 20 years in the making for Justin and his father. They purchased this parcel in 2005. They had it zoned for a 40-story building at one point. That zoning expired in 2015. The form-based code then came into play in 2019. And I believe that what me and my team has put forth actually conforms nicely to the form-based code, with the exception of the T5/T6 zone that we're requesting. We believe that the project will be a good neighbor to the container park. 450 residents in this area, right? 338 units. Let's pretend there's 1.5 people in each unit. So there'll be 450 people. This site has a walkability score that's off the chart. It has a transportation, and it scores really well in a urban living environment. I'm a lead accredited architect. We've got the street trees. I noticed staff pointed out that apparently I picked the wrong species on the one tree. Happy to change that out. But even the two trees that I did pick, one is the Chinese pistachia, and that turns nice and red and adds color in the fall. The other species actually remains green all year. The idea that there's never just empty trees along the sidewalk there. We are putting trees along Fremont as well as A Street, so this will be a tree-lined street. I believe staff has reviewed all of the waivers. They've approved the waivers. We agree with the conditions of staff, with the exception of the zone change denial, and would like to address a little bit of that as we go down the path here. One of the things that Dan and I Justin and I have talked about, didn't mean to call you your father. The interesting thing about this, and this is from page 5 of the mini pack, the downtown overlay district are the 6 blocks that go from Carson to Ogden and from 8th Street to Las Vegas Boulevard. 2/3 or 4 of those 6 blocks are actually T6 zoned, right? The other 2 are the T5 zone. So the requested zone change for our parcel, which staff has identified right here, actually puts it in line, as Justin said, in order to further equalize what the properties to the west of 7th Street already enjoy. The project, as I said, is part of the downtown overlay, and the downtown overlay has a mission and intent to create a safe and secure environment. We do that. Currently, this is a vacant lot. Justin and his father have raised the building that's there, or the buildings that were there. It is now an open, developable site. There are no tents and homeless people living there. They've done a great job of cleaning that up, and they have spent countless hours and dollars making sure that happens. Eliminate urban blight. They tore down the buildings that were there. It's currently an empty lot. It has some landscaping on it. We're going to redo that landscaping, and we're going to enhance it. Revitalize surrounding neighborhoods. Absolutely. Check that one. Foster economic development opportunities and expand free enterprise. This is a mixed-use site. We have commercial, we have residential, and we have a truly mixed-use property. Eliminate criminal activities. They've done that already. Make Fremont East Area community a choice for business and citizens. That is absolutely why we are proposing an amenity-rich development like we are. We want this place to be where you go to live, work, and play. Take an elevator down. Leave your car parked in the garage. Walk. Take the bus. Enjoy all of those things. Adjust the zoning licensing restrictions to encourage non-gaming, blues, jazz, nightclub, all the other things that go along with the Fremont East District and the overlay. That also comes with the restriction of not allowing gaming in that area. Leverage popularity nearby Neonopolis and the Fremont Street experience. Again, check. We'd be adding 450 people that would participate in that, at least 450 people. That would, and the dollars that come with that, and the activity that comes with that. And finally, encourage and facilitate the creation of an improved district for a commercial area vitalization project for the district. I don't know how else to explain that. Check. I guess, in short, we've added the street trees. We believe in reducing the heat island effect. We believe in the transit-oriented development. We believe we delivered on that. We asked the commission to consider the zone change. We believe that the zone change puts us on a par to the neighbors to the west of 7th Street, where they already enjoy the T6 zoning in the downtown overlay district. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. This meeting was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and turn this over to Commissioner Schlotzman.
Thank you, Vice Chair, and good evening, guys. I've gone back and forth on this one quite a few times, and I'm still on the fence. Want to hear from the rest of the commission, but I mean, we've been talking about this project for a number of years, and nothing's happened. And I don't know what's keeping this from moving forward. Maybe it's that we're shooting for 40 stories, or maybe we're shooting for 20 stories, and we just can't make that happen. I mean, this is Zone T6, which has a maximum of 7 stories, maybe, which is a little bit more feasible for you to be able to get finance and actually build this project. Another thing, just looking at some of the elevations and the parking garage, kind of going back to some of my comments that I made earlier with the city parking garage, I was, thanking them for putting in more architectural embellishments and things like that on the parking garage. And quite frankly, this one's kind of plain. I mean, we used a couple of different colors, but it's just, it's a plain parking garage. So I think it needs a little bit of work, and I'm on the fence on this, going from a T5 to T6, to tell you the truth. So I want to hear what everybody else has to say.
Commissioner Rogan?
Commissioner Schlottman, I think downtown areas, we're pretty much on the same path for most of the applications that we see. With regard to this one, when we adopted the form-based code 4 or 5 years ago, one of the things that we were looking forward to was not seeing applications to change zones, not seeing variance requests, because the ideal of the form-based code is to provide owners and developers the flexibility within constraints that are set. And you're in an area that has been set for 7 stories, and you're asking for 10 more. In addition to that, you're asking for 3 stories of parking, which is more consistent with development patterns that we saw maybe 10 or 15, 20 years ago in downtown Las Vegas. And now we're trying to move away from having that amount of parking and that amount of vehicular traffic coming into that downtown area, which is why we're looking at 7-story buildings. It's more walkable, more transit-oriented than auto-oriented, and yours is more of an auto-oriented building. So just in conclusion, I would say that you need to downscale. You need to bring it more in line with the T5 Main Street, more in line with the idea of walkability for that area, more in line with the development that you're seeing that's planned for that area, that's lower, not as tall. I think if you were just maybe 2 blocks to the east or to the west, my interpretation would be different, but you're not. You're at where you're at now, and you're in T5, and I think you need to build in accordance with T5 Main Street.
I would just, without belaboring the point, I mean, we really need to stick to the form-based code and what the requirements are, and to both of the commissioner's point, I mean, just all the work that's been done to create the guidelines here, and we're looking to go in a different direction. I wouldn't support that tonight.
Vice Chair Williams, pardon the interruption, Sandy Turner, Deputy City Attorney. Just as a reminder, we did not read into the record items 37A and 37B, so if you could read those into the record before there's a vote.
Sure.
Thank you.
Item 37A, 24-0407ZON1, from T5 Main Street to T5 UC Urban Core, and item 37B, 24-0407 SDR1, for a proposed 17-story mixed-use development consisting of 338 multifamily residential units and 9,230 square feet of commercial space with waivers of Title 1909 Form-Based Code Development Standards. And thank you. Commissioner Schlotzman.
Yes, and Vice Chair, through you, for Justin Michaels, I I've known of you for many of years, and I have a lot of respect for you and what you're doing. And this isn't anything about you in particular. I mean, I've voted similar on other projects that come forth on Maryland Parkway and Bonneville, or close to that. And then also another one that was near Charleston and 8th, or Charleston 10th. And it's just when the density starts getting a lot higher than everything else around the immediate area, sometimes it could have a negative impact on the surrounding areas, especially also if they're not getting built, because properties are just sitting there. I'd really encourage you to try looking at something that it fits within that T6, and I'd like to do whatever I could to help you out to get it built. And feel free to always reach out to me before the hearing if you'd like to discuss any of the specifics on the project, and I can give you some of my feedback. But just for those reasons and what the staff report has written, and listening to the rest of the testimony tonight, I just feel that 17 stories on this particular project is a little bit dense for where we're at today. So.
We had, the prior project, about 90% construction document ready before the ground and the economy just, fell. And we had to sit on the sidelines and licking our wounds for quite a while, keeping the extensions going, hoping that eventually the market would come back around to be able to do the condo project that we had originally entitled. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. We had to adapt to the times. We know that, the apartment housing is definitely at a very critical point. We need a lot more housing. But the amount of money that we have tied up in the property, the cost of the land, the cost of the prior project, the cost of the SIDs, which outside of El Cortez, we're the second highest contributor to all the SIDs that created the entertainment district and maintain the entertainment district. And so we were hoping for fairness to be able to enjoy the same T6 as the rest of the entertainment district has. And we are the one last open parcel that could take advantage of the T6, where all the other parcels, even though they're designated T6, they are already up and running as good, great, really great businesses for the area. And we're trying to maximize what we can do. For us, we can't pencil out a 7-story building on the cost that we have on the property. At 17, that was the best we can do to barely finally be able to break even and, and make whole again. We have financing in place, hoping that we will get your blessing tonight. We have the conversations tomorrow with these people that are also hinging on this to move the process quicker. Again, we've got a lot of moving parts happening, and we have a lot of money tied up into this project, and not to mention a lot of time. So, again, we're just, I don't know what happened with why everything within our entertainment district was designated T6 except for our one block. But I don't know if it was an oversight on the overlay, but if we would have had, an opinion, if we were invited to any of these form-based code meeting, we would have expressed these concerns at that time. Unfortunately, we weren't at any of those meetings, nor invited to any of those meetings. We would just like to be able to have fair, having the same zoning as the rest of the neighbors in that district that, again, we all built and paid for. And we're determined to try to make this and finish this job. We have put together a really good team right now, and we're looking forward to moving forward with this. And we're just asking for your blessing to move from a T5 to a T6 to conform with the rest of what's in the overlay.
I appreciate it. And through the Vice Chair, just a couple more comments. And I do understand that we're in a different environment than we were 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, well, before the recession, let's go back even further. I mean, we were approving high-rises on every block in downtown. And so having a 40-story approved where your previous site was when there was 50 high-rises planned for Vegas. At that point, maybe it wasn't as big of a deal. Now that we've moved into a form-based code, I think that things have changed and times have changed a bit and what we're looking for down there. I don't think I'm gonna be able to support it. I'm hoping that you can work on the parking garage and try to embellish that a little bit more. This will be going to city council. Maybe talk to the city council person and see if there's some happy median that she feels between 7 and 17 stories, or 7 and 17 stories that you're wanting to go, and see where you can go from there. But I would encourage you to reach out to the councilwoman before the next hearing and see what y'all can get figured out. But just for those reasons, I wouldn't be able to support it. Wish you luck. I hope you still find a way to come back with something before city council and still build something, because it'd be amazing to see something built on that property. So for those reasons, Vice Chair, I'm gonna have to follow staff's recommendation for denial on item 37, 24-0407, 37A and B.
Motion on the floor for denial.
Commissioner Taylor?
Aye.
And that item carries.
And Mr. Chairman, those items will move on to City Council on December 17th.
Thank you.
Commissioners. Have a good night.
Moving to item 38, 24-0456, applicant Oscar Caveira, owner Jose.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, on that last item, just for clarification, it's moving forward to City Council on December 18th of 2024. I think we heard December 17th.
It's December 18th.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
All right, where was I?
There's been a suggestion that we rewind and check the record, Nicole.
Owner Jose and Alejandra Robledo Living Trust for possible action on the following land use entitlement project request on .16 acres at 2201 South Maryland Parkway, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. I'll read into the record 35A 24-0456 VAR1 to allow 0 additional parking spaces where 4 additional parking spaces are required for a parking impaired development. 38B 24-0456 SUP1 for a proposed 1,245 square foot alcohol on premise full use with 169 square foot outdoor patio area with waivers to allow a 104 foot distance separation from a church, house of worship, and a 325-foot distance separation from a school where 400 feet is required. Can we get to staff report, please? We're going to get to staff report.
Mr. Vice Chairman, the applicant currently operates a restaurant at this location, which has been open since 2019. On January 14th of 2020, the Planning Commission approved a special use permit, SUP 77942, for a proposed 1,125 square foot beer wine cooler on sale establishment use. Now the applicant wishes to serve full alcohol, prompting this special use permit request. Also, there's been a floor plan submitted that depicts a new 169 square foot outdoor dining area, which requires an additional 4 parking spaces. Pursuant to Title 19, the subject property is parking impaired, as there are only 10 parking spaces where 14 would be required for the existing restaurant. When there's an expansion of a parking impaired development that requires an increase in the number of required parking, only the increased number of spaces shall be required. Although the requested waivers of distance separation requirements will not negatively impact the surrounding area, as the protected uses are separated by Maryland Parkway, a 100-foot arterial, no justification has been provided to warrant the relief from Title 19 parking requirements. As such, staff finds the hardship to be self-imposed and preferential in nature. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested variance and special use permit. Please note that there have been additional documentation of protest and support submitted since publication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you please state your name and address for the record, sir?
Yes, my name is Oscar Chavira. Oscar Chavira, Chavira. The address 2201 South Maryland Parkway.
Can you tell us about the application?
Yes, so I did this process years ago, and I got approved. But I get into another situation where I got denial on the city with the permit. So, but I'm good to go now, and I'm coming back. Times are hard for my restaurant, and I'm trying to get something else to bring business back. So I got a lot of customers coming and asking for this service. So that's why I'm always have in mind, but now is the time, and I'm moving forward. So basically, it's pretty much increasing business is what I need. I know my parking lots are kind of limited, but it's basically I got people pretty much use on weekends. Weekdays, I'm good with the parking, so I don't think it's gonna be a problem. So that's pretty much what I'm asking. Yes.
Thank you very much. This item was noticed as a public hearing item. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and turn this over to Commissioner Schlotzman.
Yes, Vice Chair. Good evening. I think I read in your justification letter you're looking at staying open until 10 p.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so is the request just to your hours of operation to serve alcohol till 10 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, on the permit, I put up to, I think I did, can't remember if I did up to 12. I closed at 10, but if this is gonna be moving, so I was hoping I can extend my hours. So if it's gonna be more people, either ask us for extend hours, but for right now, I want to stay where we are. But if it's possible to extend it, yeah, I'm okay with it. Yeah, I would like to.
How long have you been open at this location?
Over 5 years, like 6
Okay.
years, yeah.
And I don't see where there's any kind of code enforcement complaints on this particular one, with the exception of unpermitted signs, and you're aware of what unpermitted signs are, correct?
I'm sorry, say that again?
There was some sort of code enforcement case on unpermitted signs, non-permitted signs. Do you recall that?
No. What are we talking? Code enforcement?
Okay. Well, maybe it's, okay, as Commissioner Rogan just pointed out, it's a field check. It's one of the big things in my ward that I always see is non-permitted signs. You put up a sign in the front of your building, you don't have a permit for it. There's a maximum number of, or square foot of signs you can have in your windows. And anyways, it becomes a big issue in our ward because everything is one big sign, every building. So I'm going to tell you to get with staff and understand what needs to happen there. But would you be opposed to having a condition that limits you till 10 p.m. on selling your alcohol? You can come back after a year if there's no issues, and we can, or can we do that administratively if there's no issues and he wants to review that up till midnight? Or would that need to come back to Planning Commission?
Mr. Chairman, through you, a review of condition placed by the Planning Commission would need to come back to the Planning Commission. We would not be able to change that administratively.
How about we limit it to 10 p.m. and then if you decide that you need to go to a later hour, you come back and ask for a review of that condition. And if you have no complaints within that year, my big concern is you're abutting a lot of residential in that neighborhood, and I just want to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand after, a certain hour.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right, yeah, sounds good.
All right.
We're good.
Maybe we can ask staff if they can help us with crafting a condition. Does anybody else have any comments?
Mr. Chairman, through you, we can add the condition, hours of operation shall be limited to 10 PM nightly.
You agree with that condition?
Yes.
And all the other conditions of approval?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I don't have a problem with the parking or anything else, so, Mr. Vice Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do, sir.
All right, on item 38 and 24-0456, 30, and that's including 38A and 38B, I move to approve, subject to staff's condition and the added condition as read into the record and agreed to by the applicant.
Motion on the floor, motion for approval.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
That motion carries.
And that item is final action tonight and must appeal to the city clerk in 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
All right, home stretch. Item 41, 24-0507, DIR1, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for possible action on a request to approve the 2025 Planning Commission meeting schedule. Staff recommends approval.
Make a motion to approve the agenda for next year. I'm sorry, the Planning Commission schedule for next year.
Brian Carroll, Senior City Clerk again. It appears this item was listed as a public hearing. Would you kindly open the public hearing?
This item was listed as a public hearing item. Anyone from the public wishing to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the item and turn it over to the commission. Commissioner Rogan.
I repeat my motion for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Motion on the floor for approval.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
And motion carries.
And that is final action. I don't know why anybody would appeal to the city clerk, but they can within 10 days.
All right. Item 44, 24-0561TXT1, applicant owner, City of Las Vegas, for possible action on a request to amend various provisions of the Lone Mountain West Master Plan and to provide for other related matters. Staff recommends approval. Is there a staff report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Fred Solis for the record. This text amendment is a cleanup item to the Lone Mountain West Master Development Plan. Since 1999, the Master Development Plan has been amended numerous times, with the current 7 units per acre density being established in 2009. Since 2009, there has been 5 additional modifications to the Master Development Plan, amending land use designations, which alters the potential overall density at maximum build-out. With 10 vacant parcels remaining in the plan area, overall density is not likely to remain below 7 dwelling units per acre. To facilitate future development, this action will raise the overall community density from 7 to 8 units per acre, which is the maximum allowed by the Planned Community Development Master Plan designation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this item was listed as a public hearing item. I'll open it up to the public. Anyone wishing to be heard, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close this item and turn it over to actually myself. And unless there's comments here, I'll go ahead and make a motion for approval on item 24-0561TXT1. Motion for approval.
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
And that motion carries.
And that item will be forwarded to City Council in ordinance form.
All right, and the final item listed as citizens' participation, item 45. Citizens' participation, public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Yes, sir.
A question through you. Just a question on our November 18th, 2025 hearing. It's the third Tuesday versus the second. But we don't have an election or anything else next November. That would have been this November. So I'm just curious why we're throwing it off by 1 week.
Mr. Chairman, it might have been due to the Veterans Day holiday.
The what holiday?
Veterans Day?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So seeing none, I think we'll close citizens' participation, and this meeting is adjourned.